You know what I'm mad about today? The fact that you don't get paid overtime for part-time jobs unless you work over full-time hours. That doesn't make any sense. I have a time commitment to be there part-time. Part-time because I have a life. I have shit to do outside of it. But no, I don't get overtime for staying extra. Anyways, I just got out of work. Unfortunately. Actually, no, that's a lie. I've been home for like a little bit. I'm obviously in my pajamas. I just fed my cat. She's eating. There you go. Wow, I have no idea what is and what is not inverted on here. Jesus Christ. All right. How's everyone's day been? My day was actually really exhausting. I got a raise at work, which is cool because I mean extra money, but it's not cool because I found out, well, no, this isn't confirmed, but I feel like the only reason why I got a raise is because they knew that everyone else that was working with me is about to quit and they're about to leave, and now I'm stuck training all the new people. Whatever. I'm always complaining about everything. I don't know why my mouse isn't working today. It's very laggy. Okay. Anyways, I just saw that this Andrew Wilson debate streamed like an hour ago. I want to live react to it because the girl that he debated against, Naima, I've seen her a lot on Jubilee, and I'm really confused by her because sometimes she seems way, way, way too far left and like way too harsh and way too aggressive and just everything that I don't want to exemplify the Democratic Party. But then sometimes she seems really reasonable and she's really chill. So I wonder which one she'll be on this one. Oh my gosh. Wow. Is this mouse gonna be the death of me? Why is this happening? Okay, chat. What's up? Netflix saved Sesame Street, so yay. But what kind of world do we live in where Netflix are the good guys? Wait, hang on. So I actually think Netflix is kind of based right now because this isn't even the first children's network or children's show that they've been looking out for. But hang on, I have that. I'll put that up in a second. I don't know who. I feel like I should know more about who is in charge of Amazon. All I know about Amazon is that it replaced Redbox. That's about it. That's all I got about the origins. My cat's trying to jump out my window right now. She's so annoying. She always does this. Weren't you just live this morning? No. I think for some reason my VOD got posted this morning. It took all night to process, but no. It was not live this morning. Miss Rachel. No, I'm just kidding. Sesame Street, facing crisis, signs new deal with Netflix. The deal is a much-needed shot in the arm for Sesame Workshop, the non-profit that produces Sesame Street and has been struggling financially. After many difficult months, Sesame Street has a moment to celebrate. Sesame Street, the 56-year-old institution of children's television, has signed. New episodes of Sesame Street will now be available to the more than 300 million subscribers of Netflix. I'm not gonna lie, when I first saw this headline, I was like, oh my gosh, we already are suffering from a severe lack of like children's entertainment, so much so that like we have 10-year-olds that are obsessed with Sephora and skincare and putting hydrochloric acid all over their face and fucking it up. We have little boys who are falling down right-wing pipelines and becoming school shooters. I don't know where I was going with that. Anyways, whatever. I feel like if we had more things to entertain the youth with, maybe we wouldn't be facing a lack of literacy rate. Heightened literacy rate, okay? So that's how I initially read this story, okay? Now that I'm thinking about it for like 2.5 seconds, who the fuck watches cable? I got rid of my cable. I don't think I've had cable since I was like, I don't know. Definitely like middle school, probably, I would say, was the last time I was like watching cable. So is it a good thing that it went to the, I mean, how many, I'm pretty sure that Netflix has, I want to say 80% of Americans are on Netflix. Over 50%. There are more people that have Netflix than can read past a 6th grade level. Thank you, Killstorm, for the $2. Love your content. Thanks. Okay. The deal is a much-needed shot in the arm for Sesame Workshop, the nonprofit. Oh, I read this already. Since 2015, HBO has paid Sesame Workshop $30 million to $35 million a year for new episodes of Sesame Street. But Warner Bros. Discovery, HBO parent company, let that deal expire as it turns away from children's content and faces financial struggles of its own. I don't know how there's not like a shit ton of money in children's content, okay? If I go to YouTube right fucking now, okay, and I look up, fuck, what does my sister like to watch? What is it? Play in color time? LCIA. Oh, also they're all Russian. They're all like Russian. All of these, come play with me. Okay, all of these little you know how much money there is in this shit? And like these get like on repeat. Little kids watch all the ads because they don't know how to skip it, okay? And they just sit there and they watch the whole thing through. The retention rate is so fucking high. Like, these people are making bank. This isn't even, like, the main Russian one. What is it? Nastya? Like, nothing against the fact that it's Russian. I'm just saying, we need some more American-made children's media. Which brings me to my favorite, okay? Miss Rachel. I love Miss Rachel. I have a personal affinity for Miss Rachel. 147 million views. Holy shit. Jesus Christ, she's making bank. Okay, Miss Rachel, I'm pretty sure she went to NYU with her husband. They're like music people. They work in Broadway. I'm pretty sure she had a nonverbal child that was struggling with like speech development, and I don't know if the child was a boy or girl, whatever. They were delayed. Okay, they were delayed in speech development, and so she started doing these videos to help in like speech development and showing all of like the educational things to all of the children, because it's better than all of the brain rot, skibbity toilet, fucking tra la 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 la, or whatever brain rot is going on right now. Miss Rachel, currently, right now, is oh my god, I can't believe that this is real. Pro-Israel group asked DOJ to investigate Miss Rachel over post on Gaza children. They think that she's working with Hamas and like brainwashing the children. Like, oh my god, like a prominent pro-Israel group that doxes people it deems anti-Semitic is calling on Pam Bondi to investigate whether beloved children's entertainer Miss Rachel is operating as a foreign agent after sharing sympathetic content about children suffering in Gaza. I'm sorry, what? Like, it's a this is absolute fucking insanity. Donald Trump, who tried to assassinate you? Like, why do I have more people investigating? Why do I have more people calling for the investigation of a fucking children's YouTuber that's trying to help kids fucking speech develop? Then are calling for people to investigate. Oh, I don't even know where I was going with that. I don't know what that parallel is. This is crazy. This is what they're spending their time on, okay? Given the vast sums of foreign funds that have been directed towards propagandizing our young people on college campuses, we suspect there is a similar dynamic in the online influencer space. I have news for you. Stop anti-Semitism, okay? There is only one person that has been confirmed to be working with people who are paying Hamas. And you know who that is? Fucking Donald Trump accepting a plane from Qatar. That's it. You know who Qatar is giving money to? Hamas and the fucking United States. Fabulous. Miss Rachel responds to critics of Gaza rhetoric, says, quote, all children should be protected. Popular children's YouTuber Miss Rachel shared a statement online, seemingly in response to the criticism she's received about protecting kids in Gaza, saying all children should be protected from violence. Wow, what a controversial fucking statement. Jesus Christ. Anyways, Miss Rachel is on Netflix now. And I love her on Netflix. And now Sesame Street is also on Netflix. And I don't know. Sesame Workshop executives have warned employees for months that any new distribution deals would bring in less revenue than the old HBO deal. The Netflix and PBS pact ends an extended odyssey. About a year ago, Sesame Workshop executives had anticipated finding a new distribution partner within a few months, and they entered discussions of all the biggest players, including Netflix, YouTube, Disney, Amazon, and NBC Universal. But it quickly became apparent that a deal would become much harder to come by. Thank you so much, Killstorm, for the $5. I hope your channel grows. Oh my god, wait, are you just giving me... You're just giving me so much money. Please stop. It's 12 whole dollars. Thank you so much. I want to host debates again. I'd love to host a good debate with you and a conservative freak, Ayo. Ayo? Warner Bros. Discovery dropped the $30 million to $35 million deal that it made with Sesame Workshop at the height of peak TV, and instead, a $6 million a year deal for back library episodes to the show last year. Between the reduced revenue and the Trump administration's abrupt cancellation of some grants, Sesame Workshop found itself in a deep financial crisis. What do you mean? Oh my gosh. Okay, fine. I'll read chat. Just for you, strange wayfaring stranger. Hey, Arya. Hey, strange wayfaring stranger. Thank you so much for tuning in. I love to care. I learned how to care about my neighbors and laugh and tolerate other cultures from Sesame Street and count and numbers and letters and rhyme. Wow. Everyone drop your Sesame Street nostalgia in the chat. I don't think I even watched Sesame Street like that. I was more of a... What did I even watch? I like Wild Kratts. I fucked heavy with Wild Kratts. I loved Wild Kratts. Okay, that's enough of that. I know this is gonna take me forever. And it's midnight right now in Eastern time. I'm not gonna react to the whole thing. But we'll see.
Welcome to a debate edition of the Whatever podcast, coming to you live from Santa Barbara, California. I'm your host and moderator, Brian Atlas. A few quick announcements before the show begins. This podcast is viewer-supported, heavy YouTube demonetization, so please consider donating through Streamlabs instead of soup chatting, as YouTube takes a brutal 30% cut. That's streamlabs.com/whatever. Link is in the description. We prioritize messages that are made via Streamlabs. To read a message is $199, or excuse me, not $199, $200 and up, $199 and up. We will read those in batches at various breaks throughout the debate. There will be no instant TTS, and I do ask that the audience has good discipline when it comes to the super chats and the chats. And if you want to criticize, attack.
Why is that so fast? I sped it up. I'm sorry. I don't have time to watch videos on normal speed. I did it on 1.5 for you guys. I would be listening to this on 2. Okay. Sorry.
The idea, not the person. Now, if you want to just tip and have 100% of your contribution go towards us, no platform fees, no cut, you can via Venmo or Cash App, whatever, pod on both. Link is in the description. We're also live on Twitch right now. Pull up another tab, go to twitch.tv/whatever, and drop us a follow in the Prime sub if you have one. Quick disclaimer, the views expressed by the guests do not necessarily reflect the views of the Whatever channel. Without further ado, I will introduce our two guests. I'm joined today by Andrew Wilson, host of The Crucible. He's a blood sports debater and...
The last Whatever debate I watched was also... I think it was Destiny arguing with this mannequin against 2 pro-life people.
Political commentator. Also joining us today is Naima. She's a senior at University of...
Killstorm, I really appreciate the donos, but can you stop wording your questions like this? I'm going to put you in a little timeout. It's kind of creeping me out.
Southern California. She's a political commentator and content creator. The topic today is feminism. You will each have up to a 5-minute opening statement, and then the rest of the show will just be open conversation, possible prompt changes, and we're gonna have breaks for messages from the audience. Andrew, you're gonna go first with your opening statement, so please go ahead.
Yeah, so my position on feminism is that it's terrible for society. As we go through this, I'll kind of flesh that view out using what I call force doctrine, so that you can understand why I have that same set. But force doctrine basically just states that while feminism definitionally is the movement towards egalitarianism and equity for the removal of patriarchal systems, that feminists will always have to appeal to patriarchy in order to try to remove patriarchy, which is ironically hilarious. But a few things I wanted to get to first is that I went through several hours of my opponent's content, and I've actually not ever seen her make a single argument for anything that she believes. I've seen her assert a lot of things, but not an argument for anything she actually believes. So I have some notes here, and I was hoping she could help me clear some of these things up. From the Surrounded September 8th, 2024 episode, she says abortion is murder. The prompt is abortion is murder and should be illegal. She asked for a viability time for 20 weeks and thinks abortion before 20 weeks is acceptable. She says the fetus is technically classified as a parasite. The fetus cannot exist outside of the womb and therefore is a parasite. The actual definitions don't support this. An organism living in, on, or with another organism in order to obtain nutrients, grow, multiply. That would be an actual definition of a parasite, or someone or something that resembles a biological parasite living off of, being dependent on, or exploring another. Fetuses can't fit that definitionally. Fetus is the same species. Biological parasites are classified as other, not the same species. Also, mutual biology. Mothers and fetus co-adapt, and mothers are actually healthier while they're pregnant, so it can't really be a parasite. And parasites are rarely temporary, and fetuses are. So, and none of that fits the criteria for a parasite. On our video, Middle Ground, Progressives versus Moderates, and this is from January 19th, she says the prompt is, does the far left make Democrats lose elections? She said Kamala. Rebuttal for that. So I'd like her to kind of dive into what she actually believes within the paradigm of feminism.
Sorry, my bad. Okay. I don't understand why he's just like recharacterizing her position instead of just letting her make the opening statement. Like, she's right there. You don't have to bring up whatever she said in the past or whatever. You just ask her.
Feminism. But for my positive position, I will say I have a logical argument called force doctrine, and my logical argument called force doctrine refutes the feminist ideology, and it just works, as I explained before, that patriarchy must always be appealed to in order to try to eliminate patriarchy. Women can't enforce their own rights collectively, and men can. Therefore, women always have to appeal collectively to men for their rights. So you're always going to essentially have a patriarchy through force doctrine, and there's nothing women can do about that. So I'm willing to logically go through that and have it examined rigorously, but I'm hoping that with that, you can also describe your positions so that I understand them better.
All right. Thank you, Andrew. If you'd like to give your opening statement.
Yes, thank you, Andrew. I do think that is an interesting claim that I don't, state my arguments, because I've actually been watching some of your content, and I've noticed kind of a similar trend as well within these debates, where you will ask your debater questions, but will not put forth your argument, including in your opening statement. You state force doctrine, but instead of elaborating on it, you consistently talk about what I've talked about, which only one of those topics was actually related to feminism. Now, when it comes to my actual beliefs, I think my goal and my hope for this country is to see us advance as a society.
That was just like the hardest read ever. Damn.
I would like to see everyone have bodily autonomy, and I would like for the vast majority of people, if not everyone, to have their basic needs met, and I would like to mitigate any unnecessary conflict between the citizens of this country, genuinely. I think that my main issue with the manosphere and with your force doctrine principle is that it promotes and spreads divisiveness against men and women, it promotes and spreads violence against men and women, and it exaggerates and focuses the differences between the genders. I think that men and women, I know men and women are the same species. We are 99% genetically similar, and the obsessive need to define and separate people based on one singular chromosome is doing both men and women a disservice, socially, economically, and politically, which we can get into. I'm ready to open it up if you want to.
Yeah,
I
sure.
guess actually I'd love to start with a question for you. I would like to go back to the force doctrine theory, if we can. I just kind of want to understand more. I know you've talked a lot about the equal force objection in the past. You've said men have essentially a monopoly on force.
Correct.
If I'm correct. Okay, perfect.
Do you want me to walk you through the argument?
No, I'm going to elaborate. Thank you. And that rights exist through physical force, and that our legal system is based on physical force. So I guess I kind of just want to hear you elaborate on that now, if you're welcome.
So you want my argument for the force doctrine?
Yep.
Okay, so what force doctrine is saying is very simple. That feminism, if you at least agree with my definition, and it seems broadly feminists do, that it's a movement towards egalitarianism and equity and the removal of patriarchy. If you can't have an oppressed class without an oppressor class, at least not from the Marxist feminist view. In the case, if women are being oppressed, they're not being oppressed by wolves, they're being oppressed by men, right? So if that's the case, then my argument to them is that whatever you believe this oppression is, you will actually have to appeal to men in order to either relinquish whatever this oppression is, or concede to whatever it is that they want, because collectively, women actually cannot overthrow any patriarchal systems. They rely on the force of men. And so if men, anytime they want to, decide to remove women's rights, there's actually not anything women can do about it, but the opposition is not true. The opposite is not true. Women cannot collectivize and take away women's rights.
Okay, so are you essentially saying that women do not deserve the right to fight for their own free will or have free will?
Yeah, that's an odd claim. I'm not making an odd claim. I'm trying to get us to the descriptor first. So instead of making a prescriptive statement, I'm starting with a descriptive statement. What is true, and then we can worry about what should be true after we...
One of the most, infuriating things that I see right-wing debaters do all the time is they try and get, super, meta debate and start, well, actually, you actually just partook in XYZ fallacy, and actually you're not establishing your axes properly, and you're actually not establishing the, oh my god, shut the fuck up, shut the fuck up. Are we talking? Or are you being graded by your teacher for a fucking debate assignment? Can you participate?
We can determine what is true.
Okay, but I'm trying to see, structurally, how does that work in the real world? Are you saying that women should not fight for their rights because they...
Listen, let's back up so I can distinguish two things.
Okay.
Is, ought, right? So I'm not trying to bridge the is-ought gap. I'm trying to start with a descriptor.
Wow, you're so philosophical. You're so philosophical, Andrew. Hashtag... Sorry, who is it? What is it? Kant? No. Who is it with the is-ought divide? David Hume. He doesn't even, oh my God. Such fucking, David Hume he doesn't even spend that much time fucking talking about this shit.
Descriptive claim. So if the descriptive claim is true, then we can move to the prescriptive side of it. But right now, you would either need to agree with me that descriptively I'm right or that descriptively I'm wrong.
I can't agree with you to say that descriptively you're right until you apply what you're saying in theory to the practice of modern day society. How does your equal force objection, how does this principle work in society? What are you saying in terms
so
of
I'm
how
saying that
women
because
and men
that,
coexist?
I think that because that is the case, that men deserve to have various privileges that they're not given in society, which they should be given in society.
So what are the privileges that you think that men should have that women should not have?
Well, primarily, I think that if you're going to look at an equalization, what I would do prescriptively would be to roll voting back. And that's for both sexes. I think that rolling voting back for both sexes is a good idea, and have some sort of perhaps like one house voting system or one marriage.
That was just like a crazy, like, Jesus Christ. I wasn't prepared for that. Jesus, we're just right at the beginning.
Voting system, or people who have done some sort of collective service to the state for a voting system. I think that those things would all be very good systems for everybody. Now I would apply that, I would apply that broadly to men, and I would apply that to women. I think that right now men get the shaft because men are required to do a lot of jobs that women are not, which keeps society going, and women are not doing those things. And because of that, I don't understand why it is that women can nullify their votes and disenfranchise them, and most importantly, vote to send them to wars they don't have to go fight in.
So you would like to disenfranchise both men and women's votes?
Most of them, yes. I
What
think would be a better idea.
this achieve?
Well, it would achieve the same thing our founders basically wanted to achieve, which is that they thought that you have to have a stake in the country in order to vote.
But if you live in the country and if you exist in the country and if you're being legislated by the laws that the country is making, don't you have a stake in that?
No, not always.
You don't?
In fact, many times you don't. Many times, many people actually get more back from the state than they put into the state. So that's at the expense of other people.
Who?
Is he saying that is he saying that we need to roll back everyone's ability to vote because some people don't feel that like patriotic? Is that because women are canceling out men's vote? Like,
to disenfranchise both men and women's votes?
Most of them, yes. I
What
think would be a
would
better
this
idea.
achieve?
both men and women.
Well, it would achieve the same thing our founders basically wanted to achieve.
It would achieve the same thing our founders basically wanted to achieve.
Which is that they thought that you have to have a stake in the country in order to vote.
But if you live in the country and if you exist in the country and if you're being legislated by the laws that the country is making, don't you have a stake in that?
Do you have a stake in the country when you pay taxes? when you pay federal taxes to the country? Does that count as you having a stake in the country? With your social security card? The fuck?
No, not always.
You don't?
In fact, many times you don't. Many times, many people actually get more back from the state than they put into the state. So that's at the expense of other people.
I'm sorry. Because many times people get back more than what they put in. So that means that no one is allowed to vote because they don't have a stake in the country because they get back more than what they're putting in.
So there's lots of people who get a mass amount back from the government that they never pay to the government. This can happen through things like Social Security, disability, things like welfare, things like even earned income child credit that you may receive even though you don't actually pay anything into the system or very little into the system.
But it's a crime to lie on your taxes and commit. Isn't that tax fraud to claim a dependent?
No. There's just
that is tax fraud.
No. It's not tax fraud. I'm saying there's people who get more out of the system than they put into the system.
Okay, but they're still at stake because they still live here now. Are their lives not at stake if we're legislating them?
That wouldn't follow that because they live here, they deserve the right to vote, though.
Yes, no taxation without representation. That's the point of representative democracy is that everyone is represented.
Then how come they're
Everyone take notes from Killstorm, okay? This is how you properly apologize to a woman. You give them money. Thank you.
Founding fathers didn't give everybody the right to vote from the beginning.
I mean, the founding fathers also endorsed and owned slaves.
Yeah,
Do you
but
agree with chattel slavery?
Just let her finish. Go ahead.
I mean, the founding fathers also endorsed and owned slaves.
Okay,
but
do you believe in chattel slavery?
Yeah. So you do realize that they could do bad thing, right? I can agree that's a bad thing, but that has nothing relationally to do with how they set up the system of government.
I mean, I thought this was going to be a debate on feminism. Honestly, I think that's kind of wild because it sounds like you're disenfranchising men. So who do you think would be? Are you trying to go back? You're taking away.
I'm not disenfranchising men. Calm down. I'll explain.
But if you're taking away the votes of a man because he is not, I guess, landowning, is that what's the criteria for having a vote?
I think ultimately more men would be voting because they would have more stake.
So can I ask, can every man go to prison?
Yeah.
Okay, if they commit a crime, they can go to prison?
Yeah.
Everyone can do that?
Yes.
Okay, and everyone is in this country has to abide by the laws of this country, otherwise they will go to prison, yes?
Yeah.
Okay, so why wouldn't they be allowed to vote on the representatives that define those laws? That is a stake. If you can go to prison for committing a crime that is created by the government, then you do.
Wow. That was beautiful. That was such a beautiful logical argument. She walked him. Why is he not applauding her? Why?
You have a stake legislatively in the laws that the government creates to vote.
Why?
You want to vote for the representatives that create laws that are just and fair to you.
Yeah, why? Like you could have
Because you could go to prison.
Okay,
That's a huge stake.
I'll show you, right? Can kings put you...
I'm sorry. You can't vote unless you have a stake in the country. Okay, would you agree that your literal freedom is a stake? Yes. Okay. Would you agree that everyone can go to prison? Yes. Okay. Would you agree that you go to prison if you break the law? Yes. Okay. So how is that not a stake? Because it doesn't make sense. Because it doesn't make sense. The women.
You in prison?
Yeah.
Can kings also pass just laws?
Sometimes, maybe.
Okay, so
maybe not.
if kings pass just laws, why do you need to vote?
Well, why did we fight an entire
answer the
revolution?
question before you ask another one. I just answered all of yours. If a king passes just laws, why would you need to vote?
Because a king can also pass unjust laws.
So can legislatures.
Sure, but if you have a stake in that and if you're able to represent for your legislator, you can vote a legislator
Yeah,
out.
but you can...
Did you just compare a representative republic to a monarchy and say that those were the same? I'm sorry, what? Hang on. That just wouldn't work in America because we just don't have a fucking king.
The question before you ask another one. I just answered all of yours, right? Can king...
Government, then you do have a stake legislatively in the laws that the government
That
creates.
still wouldn't follow that you would need to vote.
Yes, you would need to vote.
Why?
You want to vote for the representatives that create laws that are just and fair to you.
Yeah, why? Like you could have...
Because you could go to prison. That's a huge stake.
I'll show you, right? Can kings put you in prison?
Yeah.
Can kings also pass just laws?
Sometimes, maybe.
Okay, so
maybe not.
if kings pass just laws, why do you need to vote?
Well,
I'm sorry, how fucking retarded do you have to be? But if you have a king, then why do you have to vote if you have a king? With the king.
well, why did we fight an entire
Answer the
revolution?
question before you ask another one. I just answered all of yours. If a king passes just laws, why would you need to vote?
Because a king can also pass unjust laws.
So can legislatures.
Sure, but if
Why is she even entertaining this? She should have just fucking said immediately, why are you bringing up a king? We don't have a king. We have a president who we voted. Who's talking about a king?
you have a stake in that and if you're able to represent for your legislator, you can vote a legislator out.
Yeah, but you can
can't
also
vote a king
rebel
out.
against kings. So like that's what I'm saying. Your position doesn't follow. It doesn't actually follow for you to say that because you can be imprisoned inside of a nation that somehow gives you the right to vote.
Well, because
Hang
you
on.
have a stake. You're saying that
hang on. I'm
people
falsifying
don't
your
have a
claim.
stake
I'm falsifying your claim. If you claim kings can make just laws, right?
Yes.
Then I don't understand why would people need to vote when kings are making just laws?
Well, then why would we leave the monarchy of England? If kings can make just laws, why would we leave?
Well, in that case, they had.
I'm confused. Are they talking about like historically? Are we talking about like 1776 right now? Are we talking?
You had a nation apart that had a rebellion against the king.
Yes,
That's what was
sure.
going on. But kings have been rebelled against historically under certain circumstances many times.
So you'd like to go back to feudalism? Like you
it's not
don't believe in
feudalism.
democracy? Well, yeah, that is
No,
feudalism.
it would be
Feudalism is under a monarchy.
It would be called limited democracy, which is exactly what we had here. Do you think we had feudalism because most people couldn't vote here?
We had limited democracy, and then there were.
You know what? I agree with. I agree. We should have a limited democracy. Retards shouldn't be allowed to fucking vote. Jesus Christ. Get this guy. Take away this guy's voting rights.
Many uprisings against that limited democracy because everyone
No,
deserves
there
the
wasn't
right.
uprisings really against that. The only uprising that I'm aware of in American history against America was the Civil War.
The Civil War, the Civil Rights
But that wasn't
movement,
about
the first
voting.
feminist movement,
That
the
wasn't
second
about
feminist
voting.
movement, the Civil Rights movement.
No,
the
no,
voting rights
no,
movement,
no. It's just the
all of
Civil
those
War
movements.
wasn't about voting.
Well, I mean, it was about the owning of chattel slaves.
So not about voting then?
Which is also about human and civil rights.
But not about voting though.
But voting is a civil right.
I don't know. I'm not sure that I believe in
It's
this
about freedom. It's about
conceptual-
representation.
Yeah, yeah. So
the point is
so
representation.
let's back up.
That's what voting is.
Yeah, yeah.
Voting is representation and democracy.
I understand, but you haven't actually made the positive case for why people need to be able to vote.
People need to be able to vote because they have a stake in the legislation of this country. If you can be imprisoned in this country, if you can be robbed of your bodily autonomy by the legislators of this country, then you should be able to have a stake in what the laws that those legislators are making.
Well,
no?
let's see if this makes sense. Do you agree with me that individual voters don't actually have very much power at all?
Individual voters, no, but
What is he? He literally just didn't write anything down.
bodily autonomy by the legislators of this country. If you can be imprisoned in this country, if you can be robbed of your bodily autonomy by the legislators of this country, then you should be able to have a stake in what the laws that those legislators are making.
Well,
no?
let's see if this makes sense. Do you agree with me that individual voters don't actually have very much power?
Okay, that one didn't work. Cross that one out. She didn't fall for that one again. Okay, let me write down another one underneath.
Power at all?
Individual voters, no, but that's the point of a collective voting
Yeah,
body.
I'm with you. So individuals already don't really have very much power just because they can vote, right?
Sure.
So isn't it the case, actually, that what you're advocating for is political tribalism? Because you don't have individual power as a voter, you actually have to tribalize with other voters in order to have any sort of collective power, right?
Well, you're taking away power from all the voters,
Well,
so it
can
wouldn't
you
even be
answer my
individual.
question, please? Tribalism, the idea that you, as the individual, do not have power, right?
Yes.
You do have to collectivize with other people, right?
Okay, but how is
Hang on,
taking away
can you
a
answer
vote?
yes or no?
No.
Yeah, okay, no?
But
okay.
here's my question.
It should be a crime in debate. It should be an actual debate crime. Like a immediate red card. Fuck, where was I even going with that? What did he just do?
With other people, right?
Okay, but how is taking
Can
away
you
a
answer
vote?
yes or no?
No.
Yeah, okay, no?
But
okay.
here's my
Oh! Fucking dialect tree. Should be an actual debate crime to force your debate opponent to go down your dialogue tree. If you have a dialogue tree in mind and your opponent falls for it, great. You clocked them. You got them. You deserve that easy win. Okay? If they are not going down your dialogue tree, how fucking idiotic do you look sitting there asking the same question 40 million times until you get the answer that you want, just so that you can take them further down your fucking dialogue tree?
My question: how is taking away more people's votes disincentivizing political tribalism?
Yeah,
because now I have to band with someone. Because now I have to band with someone who has a vote. I don't even get a stake. So you're saying because people don't have enough power to vote, I'm going to take what little power they do have.
You're not
away.
answering my question, though.
It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, no, but you got to
structurally.
answer my question.
It just doesn't sound like you believe in.
It sounds like you need to
democracy.
answer my question, though.
It sounds like your question is meant to trap me because your argument
can you
is
just
riddled with
answer the
logical
question,
fallacies.
please?
It sounds-
What's fallacious about my argument?
Red. She's reading him so hard.
You're saying that people do not have a stake in this country, therefore they do not have a right to vote.
It's not what I said.
Yes,
What you're
it
doing
is.
is a straw man fallacy.
Can we go back to
Yeah,
what
you
he
can go.
said?
You can go.
I'm sorry.
Back.
Can
What
we
I
go
said
back
to you
to that?
specifically.
I'm literally, let me go back right now. He literally fucking said, you shouldn't be able to vote if you don't have a stake. This is the forced doctrine? What did he just...
This in the country, and if you're being led,
With how he set up the system of government.
I mean, I thought this was going to be a debate on feminism. Honestly, I think what's the
Well,
criteria for having a vote?
I think ultimately more men would be voting because they would have more stake.
So can I ask, can every man go to prison?
Yeah.
Okay, if they commit a crime, they can go to prison.
So he literally...
Of government.
I mean, I thought this was going to be a debate on feminism. Honestly, I think that's kind of wild because it sounds like
Well,
you're
you're-
disenfranchising
well, you're-
men. So who do you think would be? Are you trying
I'm
to
not
go back?
I'm not
You are. You're taking
I'm
away.
not disenfranchising men. Calm down. I'll
But
explain
if you're taking away the votes of a man because he is not, I guess, landowning, is that what what's the
Well,
criteria for having a vote?
I think ultimately more men would be voting because they would have more stake.
So can I ask?
So she asked what the criteria is for voting, and he literally said men would be voting because they have more stake, indicating that the criteria for voting was indeed stake. I'm pretty sure he said it like exactly earlier on, but whatever, I don't care enough.
Because people don't have enough power to vote, I'm going to.
No?
But
Okay.
here's my question: how is taking away?
The idea that you, as the individual, do not have power, right?
Yes.
You do have to collectivize with other people, right?
Okay, but how is taking away
Can you
a
answer
vote?
yes or no?
No.
Yeah. Okay. No.
But
okay.
here's my question: how is taking away more people's votes disincentivizing political tribalism?
Yeah, it's
because now I have to band with someone. Because now I have to band with someone who has a vote. I don't even get a stake. So you're saying because people don't have enough power to vote, I'm going to take what little power they do have.
You're not
away.
answering my question, though.
It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I know, but you
structurally.
got to answer my question.
It just doesn't sound like you believe in.
It sounds like you need to
democracy.
answer my question, though.
It sounds like your question is meant to trap me because your argument
can you
is
just
riddled with
answer the
logical
question,
fallacies.
please?
It
What's
sounds-
what's fallacious about my argument?
You're saying that people do not have a stake in this country, therefore they do not have a right to vote.
It's not what I said.
Yes,
what you're
it
doing
is.
is a straw man fallacy.
Can we go back to
Yeah,
what
you
he
can
said?
go. You can go back.
Can
What
we
I
go
said
back
to you
that?
specifically is what you're saying doesn't logically follow. And when I'm talking about political tribalism, do you agree with me that you do, if you need to have collectives to have actual political power, are you not promoting political tribalism?
If you need to have but that's how voting works. It's about a majority.
So then you are
Yes.
promoting collective political tribalism, right?
So voting and then the will of the majority is essentially political tribalism, is what you're saying?
Well, it's not really the will of the majority.
It is the will
Here's
of
what
the
happens.
majority.
No, not really.
Do you understand how voting works?
Do you?
Yeah.
Okay, well then tell me how it's the will of the majority when a California legislator gets elected.
Well, everyone who would like to vote can vote, and then whoever
What
gets
about-
the most
what about the
votes
people in Georgia?
wins. Well, why would a person in
What?
Do you understand how voting works?
Do you?
Yeah.
Okay, well, political tribalism, right?
So voting and then the will of the majority is essentially political tribalism, is what you're saying?
Well, it's not really the will of the majority.
It is the
Here's
will
what
of the
happens.
majority.
No, not really.
Do you understand how voting works?
Do you?
Yeah.
Okay, well then tell me how it's the will of the majority when a California legislator gets elected.
How is it the will of the majority when the California legislator gets elected? Because if you live in California, you can go and register to vote and then vote. And then whoever gets a plurality of the vote gets the seat. Like,
well, everyone who would like to vote can vote, and then whoever gets the most
what about the
votes
people in Georgia?
wins. Well, why would a person in Georgia get to vote on a
So it's not
legislator
really
for
the
California
collective,
state
it's the
legislature?
tribe, right?
But then Georgians get to vote for their
Right,
state
so it's a
legislator.
tribe.
it's a tribe when they're voting on their representative. What the fuck? What the fuck? That, oh my God. I don't even understand what point he's trying to, okay. I think the point that he's trying to make about tribalism is, I don't know how he's tying this into feminism, but he's talking about tribalism, saying that our political atmosphere is not representative of the majority of the people. It's just representative of whatever tribe is in power. I feel like that's what he's getting at, okay? Like, and I agree with that. I would agree that there is a rampant tribalism evident in our political sphere. I would argue that that's just because tribalism is like biologically predispositioned in humans' brains. But tribalism would be like Democrat versus Republican in California. Those would be the tribes. The tribe would be like liberal versus versus socialist. Those are the two opposites. Conservative versus progressive. Like, those would be the tribes, okay? The tribe is not fucking California versus oh my God, you fucking retard. Jesus Christ.
And then all of those legislators come together.
So it's a
to create
tribe.
laws.
So it's a tribe?
It's not a tribe, but those are called states.
Yeah,
That's what
states are voting for their own interests, right?
But states will vote for the governors.
Yeah.
Why would I get to vote for the governor? Hold on, pause.
hold on.
Listen to me. Why would I get to vote for the governor of, let's say, Tennessee, if I don't live in Tennessee?
Makes sense.
Okay.
So it's almost
Then
like these individual states, right? They vote along tribal lines for that state's particular interest, right?
Yes, and then each state has a representative.
No, it's not they're voting on tribal lines based off of that state's particular interest. It's the constituents that are in that state are voting in tribal lines against each other, like other constituents in that fucking state. Those are the tribes. The tribe is not the... Oh my God.
Right,
in
which
the
they
collective
said,
government.
Sure, in the federal government, right? You're talking about in our Senate and in our Congress, right?
Yes.
Great. So let's start with this. If it is the case that you have California and Nevada, these are two states which are next to each other, you agree, right?
Yes.
Can these states vote against each other's interests when it comes to resources?
In the federal government, yes.
No, even at the state level they can, right?
Why would they be able to at the state level? I can't vote for the Nevada governor. I can't vote for...
Because perhaps there's something perhaps
Nevada
Nevada has some type of, I don't know, a tax or something like this that they're able to collect, which disproportionately affects Californians in some way. They can do that, right?
What law is that?
Whatever it would be. They
So
can do it.
does it exist or does it not exist?
Listen, can they do that? Can they do that is my question.
Can Nevada legislate against California?
No, they're not legislating against. Listen to my question. Actually, I want you to repeat my question so I know you actually heard it.
I'm sorry, I'm not a dog. I
Can
don't...
you?
This is a retarded fucking... I think what he's getting at is saying that in, like... Oh my God, I don't even want to give him this this steel man of his position, okay? I think that what he's saying is that it's not fair for constituents of specific states to vote for federal legislators, because then those federal legislators then go on to vote against other constituents at the federal level. I think that's what he's saying. But it's really retarded of a logical process, because that's the whole point of our government. The whole reason why we have these different representatives from these different states is exactly so that they can fight with each other about their interests. It's literally that's literally why it's divided into a two-chamber legislature. The founding fathers were going back and forth whether they wanted one chamber, whether they wanted two, whether they even wanted legislators. Like they were fighting about it. Okay, Hamilton and Jefferson, they were going at it. The whole reason why they decided on the way that the government is fucking built right now is specifically so that all of these different places and all these different geographical regions and all these different constituents and all these different fucking parts of the country can all come together and vote for what is in the best interest of the collective. I'm 19. I'm 19 fucking years old. Jesus.
Can you repeat it? Well,
No.
it's called steel manning a position.
Just say the question.
Okay. Can states vote against other states' interests simply by having a neighboring state, right? Let's just say, for instance, that you were to have, like, oh, I don't know, trucks which went between Nevada and California, right?
Yes.
And California took advantage of this by raising taxes on gasoline, but only on the border areas where these goods came in. This disproportionately hurts Nevada truckers for some reason, right? They can do that, right?
Yes, they can do that.
Okay, great. So in California, if that was beneficial to Californians, they would basically be voting for their tribe against Nevada, right?
But is that happening?
It
Or are
does
you just
happen.
trying to use a hypothetical?
No, there's tons and tons of instances where different states do various things, even asking for federal money in overages compared to other states for different problems. Same thing with disaster support. They definitely are all trying to support their tribe, right?
Okay, so because states can potentially, hypothetically, vote against another state's interest, men and women should not have the right to
No,
vote.
that's not the conclusion.
But that was your argument.
No,
the
that's
privilege is,
no.
you
Again, do you know what a
stated, no
descriptor?
voting.
That is literally this conversation started as, should women have the right to vote? Why are we disenfranchising women? Okay, why the fuck are we talking about states voting against each other's interests at the legislative level? Okay, Jesus Christ. All right, I'm skipping to moral voting.
Yeah, everyone, yeah.
Okay, so how can you create and apply a law to people who are not represented? I just don't understand. Morally, how do you justify
There's
it?
nothing immoral about it.
There's nothing immoral about
No.
it. I mean, but that's
like,
kind
I
of
would say it's
consent.
more immoral. Why is it moral for an 18-year-old to nullify the vote of a 41-year-old? The 18-year-old doesn't even know what they're voting for. How's that moral?
Well, because
I think that this is something that I've noticed. Okay, I think I'm confident in saying this. Trump supporters live life as though everything around them is zero sum, and it is the most toxic, poisoning, like fucking, oh my god, negative, infuriating worldview that I could ever. It's so infuriating. It must be so miserable to live your life in such a fucking, like, sad, pathetic state of mind at all times. Jesus Christ. The 18-year-old is gonna nullify the 42-year-old vote. What? Just because one person votes against another person, now it's all voting is bad? Like, what? It's not a zero-sum game. What? Just because, like, it's so fucking retarded. Like, it's the same mindset with the trade, with global trade, of like, oh, if one country is making more and one country has a deficit, then we're subsidizing them, and then we have to make up the difference. Like, oh my god, it's so fucking retarded. How about you can vote, and I can vote, and everyone can vote, and who the fuck cares? Jesus Christ.
because the 18-year-old is still subject to the laws of the state.
Yeah, but they don't
If an
even know what
18-year-old
they're voting for.
Can an 18-year-old go to jail for 20 years?
A 16-year-old can. Should they be able to vote?
16-year-olds can't go to jail.
Yes, they can. 16-year-olds can go to jail for life. Should they be able to vote?
I mean, no, but why?
Why
would they be
not?
going
Why
to
not?
jail
The laws apply to them, though.
Why would a 16-year-old be going?
Hang
to
on, I
jail
don't
for
understand.
that?
Because you murdered someone.
Okay, that's fair. I mean, if you
Yeah.
murder someone, that's a whole.
So I don't understand. Why can't he vote? The
Well,
laws
because we
apply to
all
him. Why can't he
understand
vote?
I fear he kind of has a point, but that's only because of the way that she set up the argument. She did that. She gave him a really good. She walked him through a really good analogy of showing why it doesn't matter whether or not you have a stake within like land, like owning land, to vote. But now he latched onto that and took it to such a real extent where he's just taking the analogy way too far. Like you wouldn't. She was just using that analogy just to walk you through it because you're a child and you needed to be handheld through that like logical claim. Most situations would not be that.
Yeah, but we all understand that.
No, we all understand it's not an argument. Why does a 16-year-old get to vote, even though all the laws apply to the 16-year-old? Why does he get to vote?
Not all the laws apply. They start in juvenile detention, and then at 18, they
So-
get the right to
so
vote.
laws apply
They
to
either-
16-year-olds?
But you're retried at 18.
So
Like, when you
laws
start at
apply to 16-year-olds?
Some laws, of course.
Okay,
yes.
great. Why can't they vote then?
So babies should get the right to vote.
That's
when
my
you're a
question
minor.
to you. That makes no sense. Exactly. So why do we limit it to 18?
Well, that's the age that we've defined as being a legal adult. That's the age that we as a country have universally agreed with our right to vote is.
Yeah, but what
the age
makes
of a
that a
legal
good
adult.
idea? Just
That's
because
the
you
age of consent.
arbitrarily.
That's the
Yeah,
age of-
but just because you arbitrarily.
I'm so confused. I was expecting this to be more on feminism. I wanted to argue about like the woke feminist agenda. I came into this thinking that I was gonna be fighting with her most of the time. Oh my god, this is like sad and pathetic. Do they spend this entire time? They spend this entire time talking about voting. Can we? IQ test for voting. Andrew Wilson, are you ready to get your vote taken away?
Yeah, you would just be looking for, like, if somebody was going to enter into service, that they had at least the IQ capacity to do it, so they weren't like mentally retarded.
Well, I mean, isn't the whole point that we're trying to prevent stupid people from voting? That's your whole.
No, uninformed voters from voting.
Okay, so how does community service inform a voter?
Well, so again, what you keep doing is conflating like 4 different things when I say here's all of our possible options,
Yeah.
right? And then you're like, well, there's problems with this one. I agree. There's problems within the confines of each of these, but there's some that you just straight up reject and give no arguments for. Like, why is it that we can't just eliminate it from 18 to 35? If you can't be president of the United States until you're 35, seems feasible that you can't vote until you're 35.
Well, if the laws still apply to you between 18 to 35.
Yeah, so then your objection is not even to the system. Your objection is actually just still what your argument is, which is a contradiction.
But what's to prevent? Hold on, question. Pause. But what's to prevent? Can a person over 35 be an uninformed voter? Yes or no?
Yes, but it's going to be way less regular than people who are younger.
How are
than
you
that.
proving that?
Just because if we look at the people who turn out to vote, right, within these demographics, right, it's much less than the older demographics. And when they're polled, the people in older demographics know much more about the issues than the people in the younger demographics.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know. My grandma gets all her news from Facebook.
We have a message here, Manny Fresh. Question for Naima. Did I say it right? Oh my God, Naima. Okay, just question. Has she ever actually studied Plato's Ship of State? What's an actually intellectual philosophical counterpoint against this biggest issue with socialism and communism? Also, why?
Have you even fucking studied Plato's Ship of State, bro? Why are you even talking unless you've studied Plato's Ship of State?
Are you dating your oppressor? What? Typical, okay.
I'm good.
Feminist? No response there?
thanks.
Okay.
I'm
All right,
sorry.
guys, if you want to get a message in, we're going to do $200 TTS. We let a couple below the threshold just come through there. Why don't we bring it back to feminism, Andrew, force doctrine?
Yeah, I'd like to do force doctrine.
Thank you.
So there we
Oh,
go.
Yeah, we're fine with that. But if you
Wait, I was gonna compliment the super cool S. I was gonna compliment that. Guys, I want to do my nails on live, but it would literally be a 6-hour live stream. But trust, I am doing my nails soon. And I know that a lot of people leave me comments that they don't like them, but I don't care because I really like having claws and my cat really likes being pet with it. So,
she takes it down a rabbit hole, then we have to go down the rabbit hole. So here's my argument. Let's start with defining these terms. Can we do that?
Sure, yes.
So I define feminism, okay, as being a movement towards egalitarianism or equity, okay, with the stated goal of diminishing and eventually destroying patriarchal systems.
Sure.
That seems to be fairly historically accurate and modernly accurate.
Yes. Movement towards equity, a goal of eliminating patriarchal systems?
Yes.
Okay, I'll take it.
Okay, so when I say the word going forward enforcer, what I mean by that word is people who utilize inside of society some form of force or in order to either execute laws, right, or keep people safe in some capacity. That would be an enforcer, okay? So my argument here is that men ultimately are the enforcement arm of everybody's rights, including other men's, and that women always have to appeal to other men, and so they can't actually get rid of the patriarchy, but must instead comply with the patriarchy.
excuse me. I will have you know that most men say the phrase happy wife, happy life. What does that indicate? That women are the ones that dictate the men's feelings.
Okay.
That's my argument.
Sure. Do you want to repeat that for me just so I can...
Wait, I'm sorry. Wait, that was it?
Have to appeal to other men, people safe in some capacity. That would be an enforcer, okay? So my argument here is that men ultimately are the enforcement arm of everybody's rights, including other men's, and that women always have to appeal to other men, and so they can't actually get rid of the patriarchy, but must instead comply with the patriarchy.
Okay.
That's my...
Maybe I'm dumb. Maybe it's my bad. Maybe I'm the problem. Did he just say that men are the sole enforcer because of the patriarchy? And so that means that men should be the sole enforcer to further the patriarchy? Andrew. Sounds a little circular.
Be an enforcer, okay? So my argument here is that men ultimately are the enforcement arm of everybody's rights, including other men's, and that...
Why? 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 Why are men the enforcer of everyone's rights? Why?
Boys will be boys, and we will let their public sparring continue. And you guys should all be very grateful.
Women always have to appeal to other men, and so they can't actually get rid of the patriarchy, but must instead comply with the patriarchy.
Okay.
That's my argument.
Sure. Do you want to repeat that for me just so I can take a little note?
Yeah, that women, basically feminists always have to appeal to the patriarchy for rights no matter what, and so feminism isn't even possible. It's not even a possibility.
Okay.
Fucking right. Not if Andrew has anything to say about it. Jesus Christ. It's not even a possibility. Give up now. I don't even know why the fuck you guys are bothering, okay? Because men are the only enforcer, or the sole enforcer because of the patriarchy. Men will, therefore, never allow you to overthrow them because of the patriarchy. It's the same reason why we're basically guaranteed to have slaves for forever. Oh, wait.
Okay, so can I ask, do you believe that free will is a privilege? Or a right or a privilege? Do you believe free will is a right or a privilege?
Does free will just mean do whatever you want?
Within the extent that you're not hurting yourself or others or becoming a danger to society.
Well, then, yeah, it sure sounds like you're saying it is.
I'm sorry, what?
Then it would be trivially true that it would have to be, if you're saying that that means you can do whatever you want unless A, B, C, and D, then it would have to be a privilege.
Well, okay, so free will.
I don't believe in free will. So, I don't think any of us have any choice over anything.
As I'm defining it, is the right to do with you what you want so long as you are not infringing upon another's free will.
Then it would trivially have to be a privilege.
It would have to be a privilege.
Like, by that logic, there would be no way around it. It would have to be a privilege.
Why would it have to be a privilege?
Well, because the second you do infringe on someone's whatever, right?
Yeah.
Do you have free will?
Well, yes, to an extent. Okay, so free will with some limitations. Let's say, is free will with the limitation?
Then it's not free will.
Well, what do you want to call it, Andrew?
I mean, I would just maybe will.
Free will.
Okay. Do you? Yeah.
Do you have free will?
Well, yes, to an extent. Okay, so free will with some limitations. Let's say, is free will with the limitation?
Then it's not free will.
Well, what do you?
I agree with Andrew in a philosophical sense, but he's such a fucking loser for doing this shit.
You want to call it, Andrew?
I mean, I would just maybe will.
Okay. Do you think that human will is a right or a privilege?
Meet will. This is human will.
I'm not trying to figure out what you mean by this. Human will.
Like, do you think
rights.
that we, as a society?
How about maybe I can just do it this way? I don't believe that human beings have inherent rights.
Okay. Thank you. There we go. Human beings have no inherent rights.
Yeah, correct. I think instead, what we call rights are actually just collective intuitions, which are appealed to force, and then force enforces them.
I kind of agree. Do I agree? I don't know. I don't think that we're born with any inherent free rights. See, this is fucked of him. He's switching back and forth between, like, talking in a very... Sorry, I'm, like, eating. Talking in a very, like, abstract, like, conceptual, philosophical, metaphysical, like, verbiage when he's in a real-life, pragmatic, political debate. This girl hasn't even read Plato's Ship. Okay, why are you trying to pull out your philosophical qualms with her statements instead of just genuinely, like, come on, you get what she's trying to say. Fuck off.
Okay, so all law, are you trying to say that basically all laws are enforced through force, or just
Yeah, so all laws.
all laws
ultimately.
are enforced by force? Okay.
Yeah. So if you think about this, the way that I would say is like, do you agree with me that rights themselves are a social construction?
I mean, not really.
So my right to own a gun is not a social construction?
Yeah, but I'm talking about free will, not like human, like. You
What
know.
is that? I don't understand though. Like you being able to act in will, I wouldn't dispute with. Like
Yes,
you can,
that's what I'm saying.
you can take actions with your will, but when you say rights, you're saying that those are privileges absent duties. That's a
Okay.
right, and then a duty, right, would be essentially the opposite of what a right is, right?
Yes.
Okay, so these privileges that you're talking about, I think if that's what a right is, a privilege absent a duty, then they all seem like they're privileges.
Okay, but like you don't think that. I guess my issue with this argument is that it's claiming that power is based solely on force,
Yes.
which to me seems like it's advocating on behalf of violence
I mean,
in order to enforce and maintain
Well, yeah,
power.
that's what force would be. Raw force would be violence.
Okay.
So that's what it does. Like we advocate that police be able to use violence in order to enforce laws, right?
But we would prefer that they avoid it, right?
Yeah,
Like
but ultimately, what makes people comply? The threat of violence, right?
But there are other ways to get people to comply, no?
Yeah, but what if they don't?
Well, I mean, yes, but I feel like
Oh, I need a soundbite. I need a soundbite of that one clip of Donald Trump where he's like, what if a bomb drops on your head and kills all of us? Then what the fuck? Then, oh my god, I love that quote from him. But that's me right now. Why are you talking about what ifs? Shut the fuck up and answer the question.
That's a bit of an extreme. Like,
No, it's not a bit of an extreme that people don't comply.
but how does the president have power?
The issue is that his rule set is based on the idea of force when the fundamental basis of his philosophy exists by assuming men are the ones that inherently uphold the structures. Yeah. It's like the same. Oh my god, this is just. It's really difficult for me not to revert to like, it's the type of people that are likely to believe in God, but I'm just saying it's like the same concept where it's like your entire worldview is contingent on the fact that there was this big person that created and snapped everything into existence and made everything good and inherently like good and benevolent and whatever. And then also you have free will and you don't think that the God that made you is able to control or dictate any of that. Like when the God is the one that made the entire, I don't believe in free will whether you're a theist or an atheist. But like that's I never understood that. Like it's very frustrating. He's afraid of society's collapse and he's actually bringing it near with his fears. Yeah, accelerationist mindset. By buying into his framework and arguing on that basis, you have to inherently accept the premise off the bat. Yeah, exactly. It's annoying because when he doesn't have strong arguments, he reverts to philosophy. Exactly. This really isn't going to play a part in an argument for or against feminism. Yeah, it's really annoying. You have to establish at the beginning of a debate, especially when you're talking about politics, like, are we arguing on pragmatic policy or are we arguing on ideological morals? Like, where are we going? Are we this was what he was trying to do with the whole is-ought thing, but that's kind of that's what he was getting at, is like, are we discussing what is going on, what is in the real world, what is going to give us the best policy outcome, or are we talking about what ought to happen and what we ought to do in society and how things ought to go? He's sitting there talking about humans not having any intrinsic rights without recognizing any of the privilege that he currently enjoys. Wild. I don't know how much I like this argument style. I don't know. I feel like the biggest example that I hear people say is whenever people point to socialists or like communists, and you're like, oh well, you're not a real socialist, you're not a real communist. You have wealth and you've bought things and you've participated in capitalist sins, and it's like, all right, well, I mean, I guess, but that's not a really fair comparison. Has Andrew even read the philosophy of Xena, the Princess Warrior? True. I love this channel. I love their takes and your passion, but I can't take this guy's voice. He sounds like a gnat in my ears. I gotta go. Yeah, I'm sorry. Honestly, I respect. I'm sorry about that. It's like saying that you have it's like saying that you have a philosophy that rules are enforced by divine femininity, and by accepting that framework, you inherently have to accept that women uphold the structures. True. Has he said rights come from God? I don't think so yet. I think he's still sticking with the we don't have intrinsic rights, like, at all.
Or he can't threaten violence
That's
against every
all he
single
does.
member.
He is the commander-in-chief of the United States military.
But he can't threaten and so basically you believe that we function in a society solely because if we don't, we will be violently hurt by the military.
What? No. I believe that all of your privileges that you have in society that you're calling
I don't know what that was.
rights only actually exist because of force, the idea of force and force doctrine, and that is basically 100% men who provide that.
Okay, so you're kind of giving this like might makes right argument.
Just
Why? She's giving him way too much thought. She's being way too generous with him, bro. He's literally being absolutely fucking retarded and saying men are in charge because men are the one that put themselves in charge, and so men cannot be in charge. The right to bodily autonomy.
Bodily autonomy.
no.
What makes someone deserve the right to bodily autonomy?
Well, when you say bodily autonomy, would you agree then that a fetus has bodily autonomy?
I'm talking right now about human beings.
Well, I consider those human beings, though.
I'm talking right now about people who can talk and walk, who are independent, singular organisms.
So people who... bodily autonomy, would you agree then that a fetus has bodily autonomy?
I'm talking right now about human beings.
Well, I consider those human beings, though.
I'm talking right now about people who can talk and walk, who are independent, singular organisms.
So people who are in comas, they have no rights?
Kill yourself.
Dude, you keep doing comas and prisoners and fetuses. Just talk about a fucking person. What about
that
you
is a
and
person.
me? Just talk about a person who is not an exception, who is not in a medical state of physical.
Yeah, but what we're trying to...
What if I don't like beans? Do you guys know that one? It's like the here's a recipe for bean soup, and then the top comment is like, what if I don't like beans?
To determine right now is the worldview. You say people deserve to have bodily autonomy. And then you give me the criteria for bodily autonomy, and then I can instantly point to an example where you agree
That's not what we're trying to do. What you're trying to do
What am I
is
trying to
create
do?
a gotcha so you don't have to answer the genuine question that I'm asking.
What's the genuine question you're asking?
The question is, do people, regardless of outliers, does the average person who has not committed a crime, who is not inside of another person, who is not brain dead or in a coma, deserve...
Who's not inside of another person? Oh shit. Wrong one. Hang on. Wait, run that back. Pretend like that never happened. Who's not inside of another person?
I'm gonna come.
deserve bodily autonomy.
Depending on what you mean by that.
Bodily autonomy being defined as the ability to choose what you do with your body, so long as you are not threatening other people's bodily autonomy.
No.
Why not?
Because I would say that things like laws against unaliving yourself would be completely appropriate and things like this, which would be a violation of your bodily autonomy by your criteria.
So you think that because people can't unalive themselves?
No, I'm saying you gave me the criteria for what bodily autonomy means, right? You asked me what an objection would be against it, and I just gave you one.
Okay, so let's cut out that outlier. Do you think that people who are not inside another person, who have not committed a violent crime against themselves or others, and who are not currently brain dead and are conscious and capable of perceiving the world, do you think that those people deserve bodily autonomy?
No, based on the
Why
example
not?
I just gave you.
Just because people have the capacity to unalive themselves, no one deserves bodily autonomy.
By the definition that you just gave, we could not give them bodily autonomy definitionally by that definition because...
Definitely by that definition.
Definitionally by that definition, yes. So I could say...
What if I kill myself?
Or others.
What if you make me kill myself, Andrew?
And who are not currently brain dead and are conscious and capable of perceiving the world. Do you think that those people deserve bodily autonomy?
No, based on the
Why
example
not?
I just gave you.
Just because people have the capacity to unalive themselves, no one deserves bodily autonomy.
By the definition that you just gave, we could not give them bodily autonomy definitionally by that definition because...
Definitely by that definition.
Definitionally by that definition, yes. So I could say...
Definitely by that definition. Definitely by that definition. Definitely by that definition, and definitely by that definition. Holy shit. I don't know why I thought I would be able to make it through this whole thing. I'm really sad that this guy backed out of his debate with Destiny. Is this the debate that he did instead of the debate with Destiny? I wish. You know what? I'm gonna say it. I wish that this was a straight cis white man so that he could have put him in his place without being hate crimed. This is sad how polite and how nice she had to be. Okay, it's not good. All right, I'm done.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Flagrant. Our guest.
I saw this today. I didn't watch any of it, but like, are these guys going down a left wing arc? Is this the? I know that he's already debated Destiny, but like, I don't know. I feel like more recently, Destiny has been a lot more cutthroat and like unforgiving. I don't know. Actually, he hasn't even done many debates recently. I don't know. I feel like this one would have been really good with how heated everything is. I was looking forward to it.
Guest today is one of the only people in politics who hasn't traded conviction for convenience, and somehow he is still here. For decades, he has stood in the middle of the storm, unbought, unbossed, untethered, saying what so many were too afraid to say. What do you mean by respected? Like
That we say, man, you're going to be a teacher.
educators. I don't think educators get close to enough respect.
We give them a lot of
Absolutely.
platitudes.
Yeah.
Oh, how
But
noble is
they
he?
respect
But we
them.
don't treat them with respect.
We don't feel the same way as if they're like some finance bro or something like that.
Exactly.
Yes, yeah.
Just to that point, take a look at it. Harvard College, one of the best colleges in America.
something like 5% of the graduates will go into education, and they're not going into public education.
Of course not, yeah.
50% will go to Wall Street. They'll go to consulting.
You make a great point, though. If college loans are so expensive, they don't even have a choice to go into education. So is there some sort of system built in where, like, if you choose to go into education, that there's a way that the
loan will be forgiven?
Something like that.
Yeah, there are small programs.
They have something like that. But that's a good idea. And again, I'm not making this up. I'm sure there was some system like that. But I imagine, like, maybe back in your day, that there was a version where, like, not highly educated in terms of the master's program, but like people that went to elite universities before they went and got their master's or their doctorate spent some time educating. Was that commonplace?
I'm not sure. I don't recall that. But
like, if there was a way to incentivize that, that might be.
Right.
Wait, I know about that. Maybe I didn't hear him right.
Will be forgiven?
Something like that.
Yeah, there are small programs.
They have something like that. But that's a good idea. And again, I'm not making this up. I'm sure there was some system like that. But I imagine, like, maybe back in your day, that there was a version where, like, not highly educated in terms of the master's program, but like people that went to elite universities before they went and got their master's or their doctorate spent some time educating. Was that commonplace?
I feel like I've heard about that before. I feel like my teacher told me about that. I have this very vivid memory. This home ec teacher in, like, middle school. But, like, because schools will let you, technically you have to have, like, a master's to teach, I think, or at least in New York State you do. You have to have, like, a master's in education or whatever to be, like, an official teacher and, like, get tenure and stuff. But schools will let you do, like, trial runs where, like, you can work there for a short time, for, like, a year or two, not like with a master's degree, either like while you're on your way to getting your master's degree or like something, and they will kind of just like waive that requirement and let you work as still like as a teacher, but not like as a full like tenure, whatever. Honestly, I don't know insanely much about it, but my intuition is telling me this would be a good concept in theory, because you would have more highly educated people like teaching. But I think in practicality, what would actually end up happening is schools would end up trying to, it would end up being a bunch of like college graduates getting hired at random schools because they're cheaper than tenured professors, and schools wouldn't be able to get like actual like solid stable tenured teachers because it would be cheaper to just cycle through all of these graduating people while they're on their way to their masters. I feel like that's what would actually end up happening if we did that.
I'm not sure. I don't recall that. But
like, if there was a way to incentivize that, that might be
right. Of course, that's right. But what we have to do, you give you an example, and what also bothers me is we don't look at what goes on around the rest of the world. Kind of think that we're an island unto itself. We what we should be doing is what is working around the rest of the world. So you take a country like Finland. To be a teacher is a big deal in Finland. Wow, you're a teacher. It's like being a doctor in this country. People respect them. They're well paid. They have a lot of autonomy, etc. But all that I'm saying here is that if you look at the fundamental institutions in America, healthcare, education, childcare, distribution of wealth in America, we are not doing well. And it's important that we acknowledge that. So, I mean, nobody, you talk about your very kind introductions and talking about things that others don't talk about. How many people will talk about the reality that Elon Musk himself owns more wealth than the bottom 52% of American households? Is that a moral issue? Are we comfortable with that?
Wow.
It's a simple question. And there are some people who say, hey, yeah, that's okay. It's a dog-eat-dog world. Elon's a brilliant guy. He's a hardworking guy. And other billionaires start their own companies. They're really bold and brave. Fine. They deserve it. And if you are trying to get by on $40,000 a year, well, tough crap.
How do you think Elon feels about it?
I don't know him. I've only talked to him many years ago, so I don't know him personally. But I'll tell you what I do think. I think there is a new breed of uber capitalists out there who really believe, and this is...
I got this email. I was like debating on whether or not I want to share this, but I do. I got this email yesterday from someone who doesn't like that I'm a capitalist. And it just really made me laugh. It really tickled my pickle. It was on my website too, so I appreciate that they went through the effort. I am just going to admit my biases up front. I am a Marxist-Leninist, and I was watching your videos because it was recommended in my YouTube feed. First, I will start with the positives before I get into the points of contention. Am I doxing them? Sorry. I should not have Should not have put that email in there. Sorry. I, however, am frustrated by your analysis, as it appears to be missing the forest for the trees in a lot of ways. The first is that your analysis is not rooted in dialectics, it seems. I had to ask ChatGPT what that meant because I was so confused. Well, not I was so confused, but what do you mean rooted in dialectics? I did not realize that I was supposed to be rooted in dialectics. I just talk. I noticed that particularly in the pink suit State of the Union address video, the issue of fascism is not only the social aspect of which you do a good job communicating regarding the liberal political protections, but you're missing the broader systemic analysis of fascism being, drumroll please. Do I have my drumsticks? I don't have my pad. Can you guys even see this? This is my drum pad. This was so dramatic of me. Capitalism! It's all because of capitalism. Capitalism. Never forget, everything that's bad, literally always, literally ever, it's because of capitalism. It's because of the billionaires, it's because of the money. It's all because of the money. Just follow the money. That's it. Fascism is capitalism. In Decay quote by Lenin. Also, the points on the Democrats and the capitulation is important to talk about, given the constant comparisons to the Weimar Republic as the Democrats, with the exception of AOC, Bernie, and the like is that the SBD did the same thing the Democrats are currently doing, which is capitulation, because fascism doesn't threaten capital. It merges the corporation and the state. I think you could expand your worldview to have a more systemic, materialist perspective that understands the dialectics at play here. I'm not even exaggerating right now. I had an entire conversation with ChatGPT trying to figure out what this was. Because it's like, is this like a valid critique? Like, am I actually missing something? Spoiler alert. No.
And they write about this as well, who really believe that they are superior human beings. You know, I'm telling you, this is the quote-unquote high IQ guys who say, look, we work hard, we're smart, we have started these businesses.
So the victor go the spoils.
Not only that, I think that's yes. It's a dog-eat-dog world. I made it. Yeah. You didn't make it. Hey, man, that's the way life goes. It's deeper than that. You have some writing on the right, on the far right, which really diminishes democracy, and that really the smart and the wealthy and the powerful have the right to rule. So this is not just, I want a tax break. There's nothing new about that.
Yeah.
This is, we have the right. It's the divine, it used to be the divine rights of kings.
Or manifest destiny.
Exactly.
Yes.
All right. Back in the 19th century, the 1850s, I am the king. God made my family king, and sorry you're starving to death, but that's the way life goes. God told me my family rules. There was some of that.
So there's something about this that's quite interesting that I've seen lately. And it's actually not lately. There is a trend with the ultra wealthy, which is upon their death, a lot of them have decided to give away their money. Right?
Some of them.
Or some. Okay, some of the most prolific, right? Or as they get closer to death, they're like, our goal is to give away all our money. Okay, which seems to tell me that they think that there is an issue with them having all that money. If they truly felt entitled to it, like, it seems to me it's an admission that they agree with you. They're like, it's kind of wrong that we should just keep all this in our family. We should probably not have it. Now, they're not, it's almost like Benjamin Franklin freeing his slaves on his death. He's like, he's like, this is wrong, but I don't want to leave it until, I might need some shit and my back hurts. But what do I do? So when you see billionaires do that, right, or this elite class that you're talking about, do that, is there a part of you that goes, you're getting it? Why don't you do that maybe 4 years earlier?
No.
Okay.
Look, I just...
What is this? I need to chat with Destiny. It's like it's calling out or something. Are you leaving me to go watch Destiny's stream? I'm honored.
I mean, these guys are very competitive. They're very smart. They're very innovative, hardworking. And I really think it's very competitive. And I think they won it all. I really do. And I think if you stop for a moment, well, I hope we can talk a little bit about a corrupt campaign finance system.
Please. Yes.
All right. Getting back to the Democrats and the Republicans and all that stuff. Understand, I mean, I'm in the middle of it. I work in Washington, D.C. So just using Musk again as an example, he's only one. I don't mean to pick on Mr. Musk, but the guy contributes because of a broken and corrupt campaign finance system, which as a result of Citizens United Supreme Court decision, familiar with that, allows billionaires to start super PACs.
Can you really quickly just tell the audience exactly what it is? Because I feel like we hear these words like Citizens United, and a lot of people, like, we just...
super PACs.
Yeah, so we just kind of pretend that we know what it is,
Okay.
but...
We have a First Amendment that says your freedom of speech.
Of course.
Okay. So wealthy individuals, in a case called Citizens United, I don't remember all the details, basically said, look, we had at that point, Citizens United, I think, is 15, 20 years, that decision from the Supreme Court decision. So people go into the court and say, look, I have a First Amendment right to tell the people of America how I feel about an issue or a candidate.
Absolutely.
I don't like Andrew, and I want to spend $20 million on television ads telling people what a jerk he is, okay?
Making me feel like Jamal Bowman.
All right, that's another story. All right. And the Supreme Court says, no, we have campaign finance. There's campaign finance law, which limits the amount of money you can spend on a campaign.
So there's already law in place.
There's already
legislation said you cannot do that.
That's what Citizens United did. It said the Supreme Court ruled that billionaires, that advertising is freedom of speech, and you can't limit my speech. So if I want to spend $100 million on TV ads, I have the right to do it. They say, you're right. So the issue is democracy versus billionaires being able to spend unlimited sums of money. Supreme Court went with that. And then the form it took was what's called a super PAC. You start an organization, Americans for Freedom, okay? And billionaires can put as much money as they want into that. That organization then runs ads on television. It does political stuff. That's what it's about. So bottom line, though, most importantly, is if you are a billionaire, you can put as much money as you want into a super PAC. And in Musk's case, he spent $270 million to help Donald Trump get elected president. Do Democrats have billionaires putting money into super PACs? Absolutely. All right. What does that mean in real life? This is what it means. Right now, we're dealing with a bill called the Reconciliation Bill. It's a fancy Washington term for a very big bill, which will have a lot of stuff in it. In any case, if a Republican stands up and says, you know what, in the House of Representatives, I don't like this bill because, it's giving tax breaks to very wealthy people and it's going to cut Medicaid, and cut nutrition programs. It's a bad bill. What do you think happens the day after that Republican stands up and says he opposes it?
Those super PACs organize and they primary out those politicians.
Exactly.
Now, and how effective is that?
It is enormously effective. If you have, sure. Right now, you're Republican.
Yeah.
You got
Wait, what?
No, I don't mean you. I mean in
It's gonna
general.
go viral.
All right. So you have two elements. Trump is enormously popular within the Republican base.
Yeah.
Elon Musk has unlimited sums of money. Right?
Double whammy.
Double whammy.
This is the part that I wanted to see, if I'm being quite honest.
More military aid to Netanyahu's extreme right-wing government to do the horrible things that are going on in Gaza right now. As you may know, as we speak, it's horrible.
Absolutely.
Children are starving.
Absolutely.
Malnutrition growing and all that stuff. All right. I introduced legislation to say we're going to block the sale of certain military weaponry to Israel. I got 15 Democrats to support me. I got 0 Republicans. Why do you think more Democrats didn't support me? Because the Democrats support me, they will have to take on AIPAC. You mentioned Jamal Bowman?
Yeah.
Well, that's what you're talking about.
They spent like 15 or 20 million to get him out of there? This is up in Westchester, too.
You got it?
Okay.
Cori Bush in Missouri, St. Louis, was defeated. A woman in the state of Washington, Pramila Jayapal's sister ran. So if you want to speak out against Netanyahu's government and oppose military sales, AIPAC, which is also funded by billionaires who support both Democrats and Republicans,
So
we'll go after.
How can they do this effectively? Like, how can they sway a vote if the people don't support?
Is he actually... I don't know. I don't know what I... Did he... I feel like... I feel like there are people that are watching this video, this one from Flagrant, that are going to listen to Bernie acknowledging nuanced, and they're going to use that as anti-Semitic fuel.
More military aid to Netanyahu's extreme right-wing government to do the horrible things that are going on in Gaza right now. As you may know, as we speak, it's horrible.
Absolutely.
Children are starving.
Absolutely.
Malnutrition growing and all that stuff. All right. I introduced legislation to say we're going to block the sale of certain military weaponry to Israel. I got 15 Democrats to support me. I got 0 Republicans. Why do you think more Democrats didn't support me? Because the Democrats support me, they will have to take on AIPAC. You mentioned Jamal Bowman?
Yeah.
Well, that's what you're talking about.
Why do you think more Democrats didn't support me? Because if the Democrats supported me, they would have to take on AIPAC. I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know how I feel about that sentiment being spread. Actually, no, I do. I feel like that's perpetuating a stereotype that not only are the Jews controlling everything, but oh my God, it's two of my least favorite tropes. It's the Jews controlling everything, and it's the billionaires' fault for everything. It's the money. It's just the money. It's just follow the money.
They spent like 15 or 20 million to get him out of there? This is up in Westchester, too.
You got it?
Okay.
Bush in Missouri, St. Louis, was defeated. A woman in the state of Washington, Pramila Jayapal's sister ran. So if you want to speak out against Netanyahu's government and oppose military sales, AIPAC, which is also funded by billionaires who support both Democrats and Republicans,
So
we'll go after.
how can they do this effective?
People like this are why I want Richie Torres in Senate. Like, this is why. I don't think anyone on the really, really far left that's saying stuff like this, or anyone on the right, would know what to do with Richie Torres. Gay, Democrat, pro-Israel, pro-crypto. Man is a fucking nuisance. He's confusing everyone.
Like, how can they sway a vote if the people don't support the idea?
You know how you do it?
How?
This is rather amazing. Great question. You don't talk about the issue.
Oh, you make that person so radioactive.
Yeah. They didn't talk. When they went after I was up in Westchester.
Now you're undermining the democratic process.
I was up in Westchester campaigning for Bowman.
Yeah.
And I supported Cory Bush as well. To the best of my knowledge, and I'm 99% sure I'm right, they didn't say one word about Israel.
Wow.
The argument was he's a bad Democrat, or whatever the usual negative advertising. Didn't talk about Israel.
So this is quite interesting, because if a group, like if a super PAC was honest about what they were raising against, for example, they spent that 20 million specifically defending their position on Israel, I wonder if we would be more amenable to that, because that is the issue at hand, instead of using funding to make this person radioactive, which they might not exactly be, and undermining. It is duplicitous. You're undermining the people, and that's where you remove. Wow.
That's a very good point. All right. I mean, I think they should not have unlimited amounts of money. But your point is, hey, if that's what your goal is, be honest about it.
So, and I say this with you because you raise money not from a few billionaires, but like you guys raise, what is it, Sunrise and then Democrat Justice or Democracy Justice? There are these groups that are a little different than super PACs, but they are raising money on a grassroots level. But you are being honest about what you're raising money for.
Exactly. You're right. So your point is right. If somebody says, look, I love Netanyahu, I think they're doing a good job, you oppose him, and I'm going to oppose you for that reason. Yes. Let's be honest about it.
Exactly.
But you know what? I think one of the reasons they don't do that, you know why?
Because it wouldn't be supported.
That's right.
So is there any solution beyond getting Citizens United overturned by another?
That's a great question, man. Thank you. You're asking really good questions. We're working on it right now. And here is, without going too much into the weeds, we need to end Citizens United. That's not going to happen tomorrow. But what you can do is within the Democratic Party or the Republican Party, you can have rules that says, you want to be the candidate of the Democratic Party? Well, guess what? You tell, and this is again tricky, you tell that you announce very clearly you do not want any super PACs supporting you. And by the way, if super PACs support you, for every dollar they put in, we're going to put another dollar in supporting you. There are things you can do. We're going to run ads.
We're going to offset it.
I'm sorry. I have to ask this. I'm sorry. I hate to interrupt you. We have a question we want to ask about what happened to you in 2016 with this Bernie Bros movement, where your followers are seeing they have a racism problem, a misogyny problem. Do you think that's a super PAC thing behind that?
That was the Democratic establishment. That was the.
Oh, wow. Okay.
You know, that was just.
I haven't heard Bernie speak in a while. I didn't realize that he was this like no, that was the Democratic establishment. That was all the Democratic establishment. The evil Democrats. The Democrats. The Bernie math. If Bernie could have just done this primary over here and gone over here and Democratic establishment. It was just the Democratic.
They were sitting there. We had a lot of young people. We had people of color, and you know they create this kind of myth with the help of the corporate media and all that stuff.
You know, it's kind of interesting. To that note, is during this election, the podcast space, which the Democrats largely avoided, they feel had some influence in the election, and they started to label us the podcast bros and said that we were sexist and we were racist and bigoted. It's almost like it's the exact same strategy to get you out of there.
Yeah, that's what the liberal elite China does. They run away. Look, again. I would hope that everybody who's watching the program is that we as a nation have got to end all forms of bigotry, right?
Yes.
That I start off as a basic assumption.
Unless it's to your close friends, right?
Yeah, whether it's racism or sexism, homophobia, or xenophobia, whatever it is. But, and you know, liberal Democrats talk about that all the time. And then you get to what we call identity politics. That you're black, you're wonderful, you're tremendous, you're gay, you're the greatest human being on earth. And rather than say, what do you stand for?
Exactly.
You're gay, that's fine, who cares? But what do you stand for? Is every gay person brilliant and wonderful and great? No, of course not. Everybody's a human being. So the issue is what you stand for, which gets you back to what we discussed earlier, class politics, in the sense of which side are you on? Are you going to stand with working families? Are you going to raise the minimum wage to a living wage or not? Are you going to fight to guarantee health care to all people or not? Are you going to demand that the wealthiest people start paying their fair share of taxes or not? Those are the issues. And no one cares what color you are, what your gender is, et cetera, et cetera.
I'm sorry. I do feel like vowing to stop taking super PAC money is a great first step, but also being an honest politician. You put up a bill to stop the sale of weapons to Israel, and there's no amount of money.
That's how my views are. I'm far left, but I'm practical, and I vote Dem. I love you. I wish I could like this. I don't know how. I wish I could like this. Thank you, Craig. My favorite type of person.
AIPAC can spend to not get you reelected. And I feel if we had more honest politicians, then
courageous ones.
You're raised. This is a very this is a good discussion.
Why are you shocked?
I'm shocked because you're asking questions that are not often asked.
This episode has been promoted by Walter O'Malley's Foundation.
All right. It's a painful issue. I mean, because I deal with it every day in Washington. You're running for office. If you, in your heart, understand what's going on in Gaza right now, and again, it's almost painful to talk about it. The United States is complicit in the starvation of children as we speak right this moment. Okay, massive malnutrition, etc. And you say that's wrong, man. And I'm not going to give Netanyahu another nickel, but I know that the day I say that, AIPAC is going to pour a huge amount of money. So what's the choice you have? The choice you have is okay.
This is really this is a really confusing portrayal of corporate interests that sounds awfully anti-Semitic Jewish conspiracy.
Hey, they can throw a lot of money at me, but I'm going to make this a major campaign issue.
Ooh.
I ain't going to run away from it. What do we stand for as a nation? And I'll tell you something, getting back to the Democratic Party. What the Democratic establishment people say, well, Gaza, it's an issue out there, but it's not the main issue. It's not the pocketbook issues, more important. Healthcare is more important. But you know what? I'll tell you this, is my own view, is what people have a sense, consciously and unconsciously, if you are turning your back on starving children in Gaza, why the hell am I going to trust you on anything?
It's a great point.
Is that a fair point?
I think it's a very fair point. I think if you turn your back on starvation in general, especially if you're complicit in it, I think that's where a lot of, at least voters feel like there is some sort of separation. And if you make them realize that there isn't, right? If we are protecting or funding or rewarding this in any way, then you are complicit. But I think voters feel like they're too derivative from it. They're like, oh, well, that's not exactly what I'm voting for. And I do think, not to undermine those other issues, but I do think the kitchen table issues, I think those are incredibly important. And I think the more that people are struggling internally in our country, the less of a concern we have externally. So it is a tough balance. If you make your entire campaign about Gaza, the people in whatever small area that you represent will go, hey, listen, that's horrible what's happening over here. But we're struggling too, so don't forget about us.
You got it right.
So how do you balance those two?
Well, that's what politics is about. I mean,
I feel like you've done it well. I feel like you talk way more about internal issues than external ones.
I do. And Gaza then becomes a moral issue that you cannot run away from.
Right.
But at the end of the day, we have to ask ourselves, why are we where we are? And it's a funny thing, I was talking to my staff when we were driving in today and reviewing, there was I think it was Pew, P-E-W, they do these studies. Yeah, they do things. And they asked the question, I may be a little bit wrong here, but they said they do it. They say, are you better off today than somebody in your situation, middle class, whatever you are, were 40 years ago? That's the question.
Yeah,
what do you think the answer was?
This is an insane statistic. I've seen this research. They're like, that people are making inflation adjusted the same.
These viewers are going to come away believing that Bernie agrees with their right-wing viewpoints with how he criticizes the Dems. Yeah, no, exactly. That's exactly what's going to happen, which is kind of terrifying. Anyways, you guys are fighting about Citizens United earlier, I think. Can I go back to it? Where are you guys? Yeah. You guys are going back and forth about Citizens United. So, "13 years of impact. The long reach of Citizens United." Shortly before the 2008 Democratic presidential primary, Citizen United, a conservative nonprofit group, wanted to run ads and air a film critical of then candidate and U.S. Senator. Ooh, sorry. I just burped. That was really gross of me. That was the Red Bull. After the group unsuccessfully sought relief against the commission in the U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia, the Supreme Court ruled that the government violated the First Amendment by limiting the independent expenditure of corporations, unions, or PACs that were not coordinated with the candidate's campaign. However, the court noted that states could still ban a direct contribution to candidates. At the time, it was unclear what the impact the ruling might have on future elections, but 13 years later, it's become more apparent how dramatically elections and policy have changed. Oh, this doesn't even, like, do that much. As with all Supreme Court decisions, states-based questions, 14 states banned corporate and union contributions, had their laws repealed or struck down by courts. For example, SpeechNow.org versus the FEC allowed the court allowed the creation of super PACs, giving corporations the ability to make unlimited independent expenditures. While disclosure requirements apply to super PACs, they're less stringent than those for candidate campaigns. This led to an influx of so-called dark money, funds not disclosed to the public. Over the last election cycle, 2,475 PACs reported over $1.3 billion, according to Open Secrets. Open Secrets! More money, less transparency, a decade under Citizens United, $4.5 billion in non-party outside spending, $1.2 billion given to candidate parties and other groups by the top 10 donors, $963 million in outside spending groups that don't disclose their funders. Gasp. Definitely would need to do more to have a definitive statement on this, but I think the actual, like, Citizens United case itself, like, maybe didn't do that much, but the precedent that is set allowed the freespeech.org one, and then that one was the one that had the super PACs, and then that's when we were all basically fucked, according to Bernie. So
same wage that they were making 50 years ago.
I don't mean that. I don't even mean statistically. I'm going beyond that.
Are you better off than
How
somebody?
do you feel? Do you think somebody in your condition was living better 40 years ago, or are you living better today?
I think the average person would say no.
That's right. And that's an astonishing. All right, let's go through the economics of it, then we'll go through the broader issue. Economics. This is an amazing fact. And again, it's something that people don't talk about because you got a lot of the Republicans want to make change. It's almost always the wrong kind of change, and the Democrats want to maintain.
As an atheist, they don't feel our taxes should be wasted on a foreign government racist war against the children of Gaza. I'm just laughing at the fact that you felt the need to qualify this as being an atheist. What does that have to do with it? Me neither as a theist. Okay. Also, for the record, I do think that our taxpayer dollars should be used to fund the war against all of the children. No, I'm just kidding. I think that Israel is our ally and we have an obligation to Israel. I think Israel has a right to exist. Screw me.
Status quo, which is unsustainable.
Yeah.
That's what the choices that people have.
Yeah.
All right.
But sometimes, if the status quo is horrible, any change looks better. And I think
which is why Donald Trump is the president.
That's what I think a lot of Democrats don't understand. Like, you've been very critical. We're lifelong, I can't speak for everybody, but like I grew up in New York City, I'm a lifelong Democrat, and we were very critical of the Democratic establishment. And it was through the lens of, hey, you're not addressing the concerns of the people. And by doing that, we were framed in a way that I think, and we continue to be framed in a way I think it was very unfair.
Oh, you don't know nothing about being framed. I don't feel sorry for you.
It's just a refusal to look in the mirror.
That's exactly right. Yeah. All right, here's a fact. This is an astounding fact. Nobody talks about it. And this is the other thing. More important than anything else is people want to say, do you know what is going on in my life? Yeah. And if you don't talk about that reality, no one's going to trust you at all.
Yeah.
All right, fact.
But let's call people Latinx, Bernie.
That's right. That's the issue. All right. Over the last 52 years, I may be off a little bit.
Obviously, a right to exist does not include war crimes. You can have war crimes. War sucks. Sorry. It's a war. I think that we, the collective we need to be around more death and more war. Maybe it would stop us from being such fucking pussies.
Video, but more or less I'm right. Over the last 52 years, there's been an explosion in technology, right? This stuff that we're looking at did not exist. Every worker in America is more productive, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay, computers, etc. How much have real inflation accounted for wages increased in that 52-year time? Obviously, with all of that worker productivity increasing, we must be making a lot more money, right?
Nothing.
0%.
Zero.
Yeah.
In fact, there's an argument it's a little bit less in real housing costs, healthcare costs.
Because TVs are cheaper, you think that you're living a more luxurious lifestyle.
But take a deep breath about that fact.
Yeah.
TVs are cheaper? Is that true? Actually, no, that probably is true. Yeah.
What does it say? Meanwhile, during that same period of time, there was a massive, according to RAND Corporation, not a socialist organization, there was a massive transfer of wealth from the bottom 90% to the top 1%.
But Bernie, surely they're paying taxes on all that new profits they're making, right?
Right. Right. But that is getting back to this important issue, which I kind of started, what is reality? So if you're the average worker out there,
Yes, sir.
you're seeing people on the top getting phenomenally rich, you're no better off. And by the way, the likelihood is your kid is going to be worse off than you are, right?
Yeah.
That's a tough reality. Why is that? Who the hell is he even talking about? A, why is that? And B, what the hell do we do about
And
it?
I think that was the appeal of Trump, is he appeared to be talking to us.
Exactly.
Whereas Democrats are kind of condescending and ignoring it.
Right. Essentially, Democrats say, status quo is working okay.
I like that they're just admitting I feel really lonely, and Donald Trump makes me feel less lonely. And the Democrats remind me that I'm a loser. So, I'm glad that we're saying the quiet part out loud. Okay. Is it possible to tax billionaires effectively? Is he going to talk about it? Does Bernie talk about wealth tax? Is he one of those?
Little thing in America. Can we do that? Answer is yeah, we can.
Do you think it's realistic to effectively tax billionaires in a way that still encourages innovation within America?
Yeah, I do. I happen to believe that we should not have billionaires. All right. So you want to get rich, fine, get rich. How much do you need? All right. Yes, I would have.
Abundance goes over this disconnect between consumer goods getting cheaper, but things like healthcare and college and housing didn't. I actually, let's bring this over here. Sorry. Since you guys brought up abundance in chat and I didn't know enough about it, I felt bad that I didn't know enough about it. So I learned that the audiobook is actually available on Spotify, and I have it included in my premium. So I started listening to it. I have 18 seconds left. Oh, sorry. Wait, hang on. No. I have 11 minutes and 6 seconds left of the introduction. So I'm not that far in. But we'll update once I've read it through. Or listened to it through.
I have a very steep
999 million.
Wait, sorry. I really like this song. I want to know what these notes are. I just want to know what the
something like that. Yeah. I'll give you 900 million. But we want to change the culture around. I talked to Bill Gates. They did an interview with him on Netflix, and I said, Bill, you're worth $1 zillion. Were you motivated as a young man with the dream that you become a zillion? He said, no. He said, I love computer programming. That's what I loved.
Right.
That was his passion, and he ended up making huge amounts of money. So I don't begrudge people making a lot of money, but I think there should be a limit to how much you make. And also, and then getting back to economics, is we're looking at a nation today not only with massive income and wealth inequality, but incredible concentration of ownership. Want to hear a fact?
Yeah.
You got 3 Wall Street investment firms, BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard, who combined are the major stockholders in 95% of the corporations in America. Go look at your favorite corporation, see who owns it. There'll be one of those. Who's a major stockholder? They'll be there. What do you think about that? That's power.
What is the impact of that? Like, how does that power wield?
It means that you have 3 entities with boards of directors who have significant control over every major corporation in America. What that means is, do they stay in America? Do they go abroad? Do they pay their workers a decent wage? Or they treat them like crap? That's what it means. Enormous power in the hands of 3 Wall Street firms.
So what's interesting is when you start to get any kind of money, they'll tell you, put your money in a Vanguard.
Yeah.
Is that good for America? Because it seems like to us, oh, this is how you get to participate in capitalism.
Right, that's right. That's your retirement goes into Vanguard. But that's one thing. But the other thing is that Vanguard, State Street, and BlackRock have enormous economic power, which is not a good thing.
And they're not using it benevolently.
They're not. They're using it to make more money. So the issue is that we got to take a look at is we got to ask questions that I got to tell you in Congress is very rarely asked and in the media is very rarely asked. In the wealthiest country on earth, should everybody have a decent standard of living? Americans, yes and no.
Yes.
Some people will say, no, hey, it's a tough world out there. I'm sorry. I'm smarter than you. I work harder. My dad gave me a lot of money. You don't have it. Tough crap.
At least they're honest.
Yeah, that's what some people will say.
Yeah.
Most people will not say that.
Right.
Most people say, you know what? Yeah, I don't think anybody should be sleeping out on the street. I don't think anybody should not be able to go to a doctor. That's what most people say. Okay? What does that mean in terms of practical politics? It means, among other things, that we need an educational system which is very strong from childcare to graduate school. All right? You want to become, your dad wants you to become a doctor, but if you want to become a doctor, you may leave school $500,000 in debt. You know
Yeah,
that?
absolutely.
All right, does that make sense? We need doctors. Should we, as the richest nation on earth, say, good, you want to be a doctor, you want to be a nurse, you want to be a dentist? We need you desperately, tuition free. We love you.
Yeah.
Do it because we desperately
Subsidize it. Yeah,
of course,
subsidize it.
subsidize.
Absolutely. If we need more engineers, don't make the.
I don't think she would like Sam Cedar. I don't think I do. I don't watch him, so I obviously wouldn't like know enough to say it definitively. But I saw his debate with Destiny on Rittenhouse, and that was just like the most like absolute like insane. It was crazy. I don't like his logic. I don't like his prioritization of ideology over factual, pragmatic reality. And he's very, I don't know, in that debate specifically comes across very pretentious, and I kind of got that when I was like looking at his thing with Ezra. I am, yeah.
The education's so expensive.
Exactly.
We need it.
And we need more
And
engineers.
also, like, I wonder if there's a certain point in time where if you squeeze the consumers of your products so much, they won't be able to buy them. So isn't it in the best interest of these, you refer to them as oligarchs, but isn't it in the best interest of these oligarchs that they make sure that
Also, who said, yeah, is she a Zionist? I am a Zionist in that I think that Israel has a right to exist as a state that Jewish people can go and feel safe in. When you start talking about all the weird theological God chose you to be taken in this part, like I don't buy into all of that shit. But that's more so because I just don't believe in God or any of that. So
life is fruitful enough for the people that are going to consume their products.
That's a very good question, and I'm not sure that that's a legitimate question. I think a right question. I don't know that they think about it that way.
They talk about the markets all the time, but it's like the market's going to fucking decide for you, buddy. And eventually they're going to realize we can't buy a new iPhone every year, and then your iPhone sales tank. Or we could create a system that in some way is, I don't know, and again, this is way smarter than me to figure out, but like that is some way allowing people
Slightly more equitable.
Yeah, it's just like making enough money. And I don't know if Henry Ford did this, but of course in the lore you always hear like everybody on the line could afford a car, right? Like you would like to believe that
why do you keep on referring to me in the second person? I'm right here. I'm answering you directly, Ozzy. Come on. Like, please talk to me like one person. Has she ever heard of the USS Liberty situation? No. I will Google it right now for you, though.
everybody that is, working 40 hours a week can afford the average goods that the American consumer will want to buy.
Absolutely.
I don't know how we do that. And I don't know if it's
Well, that is the debate. Good. And that is the honest debate that we should be having as a country.
And can we bring these billionaires, can we bring these oligarchs into that conversation? And they're clearly brilliant, right? Many of them. Obviously, there's a bunch of them that are just Nepo babies. And I'm curious your thoughts on like the Nepo babies, the trust fund kids who have taken along, like, taken up politics and are finger wagging at people who actually work for a living when they've never had a real job. I'm curious your take on them being so opinionated.
Yeah, well, I echo what you're saying. It's some of these folks were born with huge amounts of money, think that they have the right to be telling everybody else what they can be doing and have enormous power.
Guys, let's take a break for a second. We got to keep our energy up. There's a guy 83 years old. He's knocking it out the park. We got to do that as well. And we're going to do that in many different ways. One of them is with Black Rifle Energy. They just dropped a game-changing energy drink called Black Rifle Energy. It comes in 4 different flavors with 200 milligrams of naturally sourced caffeine and 0 sugar, okay? I'm telling you right now, every purchase you make with Black Rifle helps them continue to give back to the veteran and...
As opposed to America's, that's come out much better.
Yeah. Speaking on healthcare, Trump recently signed an executive order to lower drug prices. How do you feel about that?
As opposed to America.
Arya, would you be interested in participating in the Unfuck America tour V2 if given the chance? I think Destiny said he was considering being part of that with Z from the original tour. I don't know. Maybe. I wouldn't. I don't. Oh my god, that seems so messy and so big and so many if it was less stress than it would cause, yes. What is, you keep on saying black cube? Don't forget me, Arya. I'm not interested in black. I don't know what it is, and it doesn't seem enticing. What am I doing? When they're marking peeps that ain't shooting back, is there laws against that? I'm not certain. Who is this? Are we talking about Israel? They can commit war crimes. Sorry, they can't commit war crimes. Obviously, war crimes are war crimes, but like, they are committing war crimes. I'm okay with saying that. That's not fair for them to shoot unarmed people. That's bad. Okay. So you don't believe the Americans on the ship who survived the assault? Who are you? What are you talking? I said I don't know what this was. I'm in the process of Googling it, but you just gave me an entire conspiracy theory, and asked in like 4 ways. Oh, are you not talking to me? My bad. My bad. If I got here. This entire conspiracy theory, I don't know anything about it.
America's, that's come out much better.
Yeah. Speaking on healthcare, Trump recently signed an executive order to lower drug prices. How do you feel about that?
You believe what you saw in the paper? Not quite.
There's no way you've been living in Vermont for 50 years.
That's not going nowhere. What he did is say, we're going to give the drug companies a certain period of time to tell us how they're going to lower drug prices. And if they don't, we're going to do A, B, and C. We're not quite sure what A, B, and C will be. But the likelihood is that A, B, and C will be thrown out in the courts because the president doesn't have a right to tell companies how to fix prices. It just coincidentally, Bobby Kennedy, the secretary of HHS, was before the committee that I'm the ranking member of. And I asked Bobby, and I said, look, president talks about substantially lower prescription drug prices. You do. We're going to introduce legislation that will do just that. Right? And will you work with me? He said they will. So to answer your question, the president talks a lot. Don't believe what he says. We're going to put him to the test. We are going to bring forth legislation that would make sure that Americans don't pay a price any higher than people around the rest of the world. We'll see if they come.
So isn't a better framing of that, not to be contentious here, but like, isn't a better framing of that, hey, Trump is saying this thing we agree on. We agree with you, and we're going to hold you to your word instead of you're a liar.
That's what I'm doing.
Well,
but really. Say that's exactly right.
Yeah, like I think that's like, because sometimes we get caught up in this partisan shit where it's like sometimes both sides agree, and it'd be nice if we at least get drug prices lower.
Trump's idea of substantially lowering prices is exactly right. It's exactly what I fought for years.
Yeah.
Okay. So if Trump is willing to work with us, we'll do it. Absolutely. Do I think he will? Probably not, but I may be surprised.
And then if he doesn't, let's hold him to his word, and let's make sure he puts a pressure on those same senators that he would have primaried.
Exactly.
Like, this is what you were saying you want. You get your senators in line, right? Actually, I don't know if you're like infringing on the democratic process by saying to do that, but like it would be really great, especially those of us who have like older parents who are really relying on these drugs right now.
Yes, but don't get me going on the drug industry.
Why? I kind of want to
get going. We want you to get going on everything.
Well, I got to get going to the airport. You got a plane, as a matter of fact. But
we'll fly you private.
All right. There you go. All right. Look, you got a pharmaceutical industry that makes $100 billion in profit last year. We had a guy before the committee, CEO of a major company, makes $50 million a year. They do stock buybacks. So, you know, it is and meanwhile, the same medicine that you buy in this country, whether it's Ozempic or Wegovy, whatever it may be, is in some cases 5-8 times more expensive than it is in Canada or in Europe.
It's insane.
It is insane. Of course it's insane. And they do it because they can do it. Because we are the only, you know why they do it? All right, question. You know how many paid lobbyists there are for the drug companies? How many in Washington, D.C.? Take you guys.
200, 500.
15,000.
1,500. All right? So you got 535 members of Congress, 1,500. These are former leaders of the Democratic Party. So that's a lot of power. And then the campaign contributions. So up until Biden, and I work with Biden on this, we have never, what other countries do is they say, good, you got a drug, that's great. Let's negotiate the price you're going to charge us, right? That's what they do, every other country on earth. For us, you got a drug, you charge any price you want, doesn't matter. For the first time, what we did is now have a law that says we are going to negotiate, Medicare will negotiate drug prices. We start off with 10, it'll be expanding. Is it enough? No. Is it a start? Yes, it is.
Yeah, I just feel like there should be a certain point in time where patriotism kicks in if you're an American fucking company.
What is the I was not listening at all to what just happened between these two people. What is the USS Liberty Israel shot a U.S. ship. Is that a conspiracy? Is the conspiracy that they did it intentionally? Because
you're going to gouge.
The preliminary report of the Special Court of Inquiry convened by the government of Israel has concluded that the attack on the USS Liberty was not in malice. There was not in malice. There were no criminal negligence, and the attack was made by innocent mistake. The report, however, has been turned over to the military judge advocate, who has ordered a preliminary judicial inquiry by an officer empowered to convene court material. The first mistake was decisive and set this in like the this is brain dead. Why would you? All right. I just read through all of these things for you. Lame.
Your own citizens, but let the Canadians and the Europeans pay way less?
I don't look at it like that, but I'll tell you where it becomes not funny. Is there are kids around the world who die from easily preventable diseases. And these drugs cost, once you do the research, which is expensive, and the development, which is expensive, but once you have the product, it sometimes costs you a few cents to manufacture the drug, And there are children around the world who die, in Africa and Asia from preventable diseases because these drug companies are charging prices that those countries can't afford. And that is, so you talk about humanity, whether we let kids die.
For profit. It's excessive profit. I know you got to go. Real quick, before you go, we hear the term lobbyists all the time.
Yes.
I don't think I know what that means. Does somebody meet you at a coffee shop? No, not you obviously, but how does a lobbyist?
This is how it means. This is what it means. I represent, Mr. X represents a large corporation. We'd love to sit down with you and your staff. We start with the staff to talk about the problems that we have. And these are our needs. And by the way, the company has great staff, and we can write legislation, help you write, because we know how busy you are.
Oh, wow.
And by the way, we'd love to do a fundraiser for you. So the combination of, and we have friends who come together, and we have super PACs. So, and by the way, some of these guys will know members of the Senate and the House because they form. So what do you think most senators, when they retire, do? Where do you think they go? They sit around Washington, see they work. So, hey, Joe, how are you? How's the wife? Kids good and well? Listen, this is what we got. They know each other. So, and it's Republicans and Democrats.
Don't go down conspiracy rabbit holes. You just gave me the perfect excuse that I've been looking for to tell you guys. You guys is like how many people are even watching right now? Like 40? Like, there's like no one on here. This is like my exclusive best friends club. We're just chit-chatting. I feel like I'm on FaceTime. I did this whole... I think I stayed up until probably like... I stayed up probably all night one night for an insanely long amount of time going through this conspiracy. It's not an actual conspiracy, okay? It's this fucking website. Slay News. I made this whole fucking mural board. Okay, this website, it's still up and running. It's still active. This whole website only has 3 authors on it. Okay, there's only 3 in this entire website. I didn't finish going through all of them. But Frank Bergman is the first. Okay, he specializes in COVID denialism. This is him. These are some of his works. He has Saudi scientist. He has this mob of angry Democrats. He has new COVID vaccine. He covers entertainment too. He's talking about My Chemical Romance and about Ken Flores, the comedian, and 51 big companies that hate conservatives. He is sending out COVID denialism, okay, 100,000 million% in bad faith. He takes this study that assesses the safety and effectiveness of first and second doses of the COVID vaccine in adolescents in England. He takes this study, represents it completely wrong. Okay, in this study it says that adults and children, that in both adolescents and children, myocarditis and pericarditis were documented only in the vaccinated groups, with rates 27 and 10 cases per million after the first and second doses repeatedly. Okay, that's literally this many percentages, respectively. Okay. it's literally less percentages than the regular rate of myocarditis and pericarditis in children, just like in the normal population. Okay, so did the vaccine save them from myocarditis and pericarditis because the rates are lower than normal? Or is that just a side effect? Or is that just something that happens? Okay? He takes the study, posts it. 1.7 million children. Heart damage. Oh my god, Squish, get off. Heart damage only found in COVID-vaxxed kids. This article is AI generated. It's an AI fucking generated article, okay? Not only is it an AI generated article, but it has so many fucking views on Instagram, so many likes, so many screenshots. Unhinged people are claiming that the lack of discussion around this fake article is a proof that it's being censored. Obviously, there are things we can't talk about openly because if the consequences are too dire, so that people were censored off of YouTube for trying to report this. They were censored because it's a fucking fake story, because it's fake and it's misinformation. This is the guy that allegedly wrote this story, okay? Frank Bergman's Twitter says the most banned journalist in the world, starting again after Elon nixed my 290K account for speaking too much truth. He's literally not fucking real. There is no interview, there's no evidence of this man ever interacting with a real person, literally ever. The entire rumble for this Slay News is just re-clipped videos of Fox and different RSBN whatever clips. Okay. This is Frank's first article in 2021. Suspicious timing. 2021. It's just randomly months-long manhunt ends with 5-hour-long standoff. There is no record of Frank Bergman being a digital journalist before 2023. He doesn't exist. The first record of Frank and his journalism is from 2023, and his COVID denialism, where he's getting debunked. This is the first reference of him outside of himself, like outside of just this Slay News article, which the only reason why I even got this was because I went to the Slay News website and I organized it like reverse chronologically. It's not Googleable. It's nowhere on Google. Okay, these are the fucking ads that get run. Just a side note. Okay, this is another completely misrepresented bullshit fake article of this misrepresenting the... Oh my god, they've made a graph that's literally just the amount of deaths that happened. Just deaths, just period deaths. And then they put whether it was in absolute numbers, vaccinated or unvaccinated, forgetting that that the majority of the population is fucking vaccinated. Oh my god, actual dipshittery. Anyways, this guy, I found him on these weird fucking chat forums. NNN forum. It's a weird fucking, I think it's Nigerian, but it's some like Kiwi levels type shit. And you know what chat room it's getting fucking promoted in? The same chat room talking about Buddhist Nazis and Satanists. Like, how did oh my god, I'm like tweaking out remembering. I was manic this day, bro. When I was going down this rabbit hole, it literally drove me fucking crazy. Is the link here? Dude, the shit, it's on a web archive too. I had to go through the Wayback Machine to find half of these links because they were all fucking like insane. Dude, the video, I don't even know if I'm gonna be allowed to show this. It's actually disgusting. It's an insanely disturbing, like, how Jews exploit Satanism and Gentile stupidity.
Long past that peak of prosperity.
Like, it's just crazy. It's just really, I don't even want to play it.
To talk about how Jews exploit Gentile stupidity. So I think this is a problem that our people have, Apollonians. So welcome back to the show.
Hi, Brian. Great to be back.
Yeah, good to have you back. So tell us how Jews exploit our Gentile stupidity. I guess they've exploited me for many years until I woke up.
Well, Brian.
What the fuck? Okay, this isn't even like the... Okay, imagine you're like me and it's like 3 in the morning and you're going down this whole rabbit hole and you're like, all right, that's the end of that. I'm done with this Frank Bergman guy. This Frank Bergman guy led me down this weird anti-Semitic neo-Nazi fucking chat room. Okay? I'm done with that. I'm gonna go to one of the other authors on this website. Is it this one? No, it's this one. Nick Hamilton. Fuck. Did I not link it? Oh no! No! Oh my god, I'm gonna cry. Where is it? Dude. Can I find it right now? I'm gonna look for it right now. I swear to God. I went down this Nick R. Hamilton guy, and he's also not real. And he's also just completely just, like, not real. And the Nick Hamiltons that do exist are strange. And one of them is like an anti, like a South African fucking, like, oh my god, I'm like... I shouldn't be doing this. At 2 in the morning again. Jesus Christ, this isn't good for me. Oh my god, it was a kid that got like arrested for like a school shooting or something. It was like... Yes, okay. Oh my god. 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 Reckless homicide. Is this it? Oh no, this Hamilton is dead. Sorry. I swear it was a Nick Hamilton. It was a Nick Hamilton in Pennsylvania. Yes! Oh my god, I'm so fucking good. I'm so fucking good. Oh my god, I have such good memory. I have such good fucking memory. Criminal trial date set for Penn Senior charged with alleged assault at Castle Party last year. Nicholas Hamilton was not guilty of any misconduct. Nicholas Hamilton, who has been charged as an alleged assault that occurred on campus last summer, injured a Penn sophomore at a party held on September 4th. According to court documents, Hamilton had been charged with both simple assault and harassment. Both Hamilton and his lawyer did not agree to comment. In response to the alleged assault, Penn students had hung 300 flyers around campus calling to end frat culture. I feel like he's... Oh my god. I feel like I should be in a mental asylum. Anyways. Yeah, that was a fun schizo rabbit hole that I went down. that one time. Oh my god, there's so many chats. Oh my god, there's so many chats. Jesus Christ. I missed all of these. Jesus Christ. I'm against calling it a genocide too. I don't like that. But I do think that there are egregious crimes against humanity and war crimes going on. That doesn't take away any of the horrific things that are happening.
Check it out. I mean, for literally leaders of the Republican Democratic Party. So it's money, it's connections, it's friendship, its ability to write tough legislation. You think writing a tax bill is easy? It's not. You know, you need really sophisticated accountants. Line 48, section 3, Just inject this one sentence in there. So
they won't even see
it for you. That's what it's about.
Please answer yes. Are you going to run for president?
Please answer yes. I'm 83 years of age, so that is. I think I've run my last race. But,
now, does that mean
zero fair races?
Does that mean that this oligarchy tour?
Are you gonna have mod tryouts? I don't trust anyone to mod. If I had a moderator, well, is that what that means? If I had a chat moderator, it would be, I would need someone just to weed out the creepy men. That's it. I don't care what anyone else says, just the creepy men.
Is you passing the baton?
No, don't look at it like that. The oligarchy tour is.
I think we're all looking at it like that.
No, it's not passing the baton. I happen to, I think Alexandria is great. But it's not my job to determine who the new leaders are. People have each of them, as I mentioned, in the House, there are a lot of great people. The Senate, there's some good people. And there are people who are not in office right now. But the oligarchy tool.
Do you guys know how much of my audience is men? I want you to guess what percentage of my audience is men.
Was an effort to say to the country that there are people all over America who are going to stand up to this oligarchy. They don't want a government of billionaires. They're going to stand up to authoritarianism. There are people, as I'm sure you're familiar with, a young woman from Turkey, for God's sakes, was in Massachusetts, went to Tufts University. You remember that? Mm-hmm. This woman walks down the street, so many guys grab her with masks on, throw her into a van, take her to a detention center. Why? Because she wrote an op-ed critical of the war in Gaza. Really? That's what goes on in America? And we're seeing that. So, this was an opportunity for people by the zillion. We were shocked, to be honest with you, when I ran for president. We had very large turnouts. These are larger. I mean, in LA, we had...
You know what? Fuck you guys for guessing so high to begin with. What the fuck?
36,000 in Denver. We had 34. I mean, insane turnouts. We went to Idaho, the most conservative state in the country. We had 12,000 people out outside of Boise. So we wanted to give people the opportunity to stand up and say, no, we're not happy with the direction.
For your information, actually, let me check it right now. Just to be completely 100% accurate. But last time I checked, it was 93. So please hold. I forgot how it goes past that. Oh, we're getting better. We're getting better, guys. It's only at 88.5. Snaps around the class. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm really happy for that one. Here you guys go. Similar to my dating apps, the majority of people that watch my content are men aged 25 to 35.
The Trump is taking this country.
Wow.
Sorry, I want to go ahead.
I'm curious. Like, I find you very brave, and I find the work.
No, I am not brave.
I find you brave personally, and because I recognize that what you're doing disrupts, or at least you are attempting to disrupt, many powerful people and their access to an unthinkable amounts of wealth. So I'm curious, in your work and in your political career, have you ever felt that your personal safety was ever threatened?
Well, I don't want to get into that.
Excuse me, for your information, I am a 19-year-old minor, please. Thank you.
But do we have security issues?
Wow.
Is that your question? Of course we do.
Wow.
And I'm not.
And the more power that you have, the higher the concern of that security?
I don't want to get into it. But those are issues.
But that's why I find
I just want to let you know, Bernie, we're here to bang for you, bro.
Yeah.
We're here to bang for you. If you need anything, you let us know.
Right,
okay? You still got a lot of love in New York City. You're safe here, man. I can't say anything for Idaho, but if you need anything in the 5 boroughs, we got you. Okay?
Sorry, if I may follow up on one thing that you brought up earlier, revolutionizing education. How would you do that beyond paying teachers more? I just need to know.
I think sitting kids at a desk for long hours is probably not the best way to create the kind of creativity that we want in kids. At the end of the day, if you are excited about learning, you're going to learn. And if I pound that excitement out of you that every child instinctively has and tell you to memorize, what George Washington did, I'm going to make school a painful experience. So interesting, I use Finland as an example because their kids, they usually do better. Their kids, they allow their kids to be kids. To play a lot, to socialize a lot. But you got to keep the spark alive. And once that spark is alive, curiosity is alive, learning takes place, the rest takes place. So I think you need a revolution in that sense of the word. And also, of course, the financial barrier should be eliminated. I don't care if you're low income, you want to become an engineer, you can be able to do that. So those are some of the
Before you leave, how can people who feel...
You only have to be 18 to serve alcohol in New York State. I don't know how it is in other states, but I can serve alcohol. I do at my job. You only have to be 18.
Feel like your message has really resonated with them today. Help you, help the cause.
Yeah, look, we are trying to do something which is very, very difficult. And I think we're having some success, and we've had some success. Is, come to our social media. We have a Senate page and we have a campaign page, more political. We are supporting and will be supporting more progressive.
You know what's funny? Yeah, you can't rent a car out until you are unless you are, I believe. Yeah, I think it's 25. Yeah, you can't rent out a car until you're 25, but you can rent out like a moving truck when you're 18. So if you are between the age of 18 and 25 and you need to borrow a car and you can't rent a car, just rent out a moving truck and you could just drive around a moving van.
Some candidates are running for Congress, Senate, and so forth. And I will tell you, think outside of the box in your own lives. These are...
A 60-year-old pothead from Northwest Washington loves you. I love you. I want to be a 60-year-old pothead in Northwest Washington. I went to hopefully I'm going back, but I went to school in Boulder, CU Boulder, and I worked at a bakery, and most of the women that were the bakers there were potheads, and I loved it so much. Just a bunch of bakers and just me. Oh my god, it was so fun. It's the vibe.
These are unprecedented times, and we've got to respond in an unprecedented way. And you think each every one of us is different. You don't want to run for office, fine. What else can you be doing? Help people form a union. Become involved in education in a way you did not be involved before. You think it through. But we need more participation.
I don't think that it's creepy. I don't think that it's creepy that the majority of my audience is young men. I definitely am 100% like aware of that, especially because like Brett Cooper, her audience is definitely mainly men. Megyn Kelly, her audience is definitely mainly men. Candace Owens, her audience is definitely mainly men. Luke Beasley, actually, I don't know. Probably because they're older, maybe it gets like diverse. But I feel like the like the Luke Beasley, the Dean Withers, the Parker, like I see more women getting on those and hopping on those creators. So, I mean, opposites attract, man.
We don't need, but the system really, and this I've experienced, I've seen it a million times. What the oligarchs and the ruling class want you to believe is that you're powerless. You have no power. And once you accept that, they win. They win. We have power. We're a lot more. The joy that I've had in my life is to be in every state in this country and talk to, I've been in rally.
To be fair, you're the only woman creator I've even found. Thanks. I think that's part of why I was lucky enough to be chosen to be where I am right now. Because I'm a woman. I finished this video and I wasn't even paying attention to like the second half of it. Sorry.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Flagrant.
Hey, that's me. Hey, that's Parker. Ooh. This is new. Did she say anything? Who knows? Alright, my head hurts from all the politics. I'm gonna indulge in some philosophy. Thank you very much.
Annika Harris, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You've just released a long audio documentary. How many episodes is it in total?
10 chapters.
10 episodes on 10 chapters. A really interesting way to demonstrate this is with these split brain patients. Can you tell me specifically about the case in which a person would stand up and walk to the other side of the room and be a little bit unclear on why they did it?
Yeah, well, so that gets into even a second point that can be made with split brain research. I wonder if I should go back a little bit. And actually, just so your listeners know, I play a video. Obviously, it's only audio, but I play a video that was recorded of one of these experiments being done, and I kind of narrate over it to talk the listener through so they can understand what you're seeing when you watch the video. But there's an actual experiment that I play in the documentary. And so, I guess a simple exercise that has been done in many different forms is flashing, as I said, the right and left visual fields get projected onto the opposite hemisphere. And so you can flash something that just gets seen by, I'm trying to think which would be more useful. It just gets flashed to the right hemisphere. So something in the left visual field is shown to the right hemisphere. That's right. So the left hemisphere has not seen this object. Let's say it's a bell. The left hemisphere has not seen this object. When you ask the person, did you see anything? Did we flash anything? She will say, no, I saw nothing. And then you ask the person to pick up their left hand and draw what they saw, and they will draw a bell. Or similarly, they'll put out cards. They'll put out, a bell, a cat, a pencil, many different cards, and say, pick the card of the thing that you saw. And
I just really want to pause for a second, just in case anyone's doing the washing up, not really paying attention. Somebody is shown an image of a bell, is asked, what did you see? Say, I didn't say anything, I've got no idea. And yet when asked to draw what they saw, can draw it. The implications for consciousness here, because that's what we're talking about. The idea that
Hunter gets mod privileges just for asking about this. I love you so much. The Baha'i faith is my favorite religion solely because of the episode that Alex O'Connor did with Penn Badgley. Oh my god, the way that he's able to, the one line that I love from that interview so much, he said the way that Christianity values love above everything, the Baha'i faith values unity above everything, and they believe that in order for us to achieve enlightenment or whatever the next step is or whatever, we just all have to become unified and just come together and just get rid of all of the trivial materialistic the class separations and the race separations and the gender separations, and they can just we just all come together and then everything will be great. And oh my god, I just love it so much. I love it so much. If I get into any religion, it would probably be either that one or whatever religion my future partner is.
Surprise, when the person looks at it and you ask them, why did you draw a bell? They will not know why.
And crucially here, the left hemisphere is also sort of responsible for the speech stuff going on. So the reporting that's actually coming out of one's mouth is left hemisphere. And for me,
right hemisphere is mute. Yeah.
Ozzy, why are you still watching my stream if you're gonna be like this? Stop being dense.
This is terrifying because it sort of implies that there is this conscious experience somewhere inside of me that there's some part of me that isn't aware of it, and the only part of me that can communicate is somehow disconnected from it. I mean, that is absolutely fascinating. But so what happens
I
when...
think the chances that anything like that is happening in a brain that is connected is very low. So I should say that that's a very unique type of brain in which the hemisphere, there's no communication. And even in some of these surgeries, they don't completely surgically split them because it's unnecessary. And so I don't think this is the case for healthy brains that are intact. But I think what is possible is there are other systems that are giving rise to conscious experiences. Very different from the ones that we report on that we consider to be ours. The brain is structured in such a way that it makes sense that we have memory, that certain things enter our memory stream, other things don't. The reason we feel like a self, we can get into that a little bit if you're interested. One of the chapters of my documentary is about how the feeling of being a self gets constructed. But yes, just to not terrify everyone too much. I think there's actually a way to see this that's actually quite beautiful and less scary. Although I take your point, and I've been creeped out by many of these.
Well, at the very least, it's exciting. Whether you're scared or you can kind of romanticize it, it's very exciting. Specifically,
it's clear we have not been thinking about things. The right
correctly.
way. And we've been following intuitions that have very likely been misleading us about what consciousness is and where we might find it in the univerus.
In particular, about the unity of the brain as the product of a singular consciousness that sort of comes about as the result of atoms arranged in the right way inside of a cranium somewhere. But I did really want you to just detail this example. It's a similar kind of study, but the interpreter thing.
Okay, so they do studies like this. Then in some of them, they would ask the participant to perform some sort of action. And they would ask only the right hemisphere. So they wanted to make sure that the left hemisphere, the speaking, reporting hemisphere, was not aware of the command. I should also say these people have enrolled in this study. They're interested in understanding their own brains. They're not doing any of this against their will. They're happy to participate. They go willingly. They understand all the implications and everything that's being studied. And so they will communicate just to the right hemisphere of the brain, something to the effect of, I've read so many of these, I mix them up, but I'll give a general. They'll say, please stand up and go walk to the window at the other side of the room. And so the right hemisphere understands this command and is happy to comply with the experimenters. Will get up and start walking across the room. Then the experimenter will ask the subject, why did you walk to the other side of the room? Now the only conscious being capable of answering out loud is the left hemisphere. And this is something that's very strange that Ian McGilchrist has done a lot of research on that I find fascinating.
Isn't that so crazy? It's so much, it gets so meta, analyzing politics with like a background, like it's just always like overlooming in my head is just like the idea that we don't have free will and the idea that nothing that I'm thinking is my choice. It really bothers me because I'm a control freak, or at least I think I am. I think I'm very neurotic, but I don't know because it's not my choice. That bothers the fuck out of me. Anyways, one of the freaky things, or one of like the cool things, I guess, is whenever I am analyzing or like watching Republicans try and like hold water for Donald Trump, it's like I try and figure out, like, are you consciously aware of how you came to the conclusions that you came to, or do you genuinely believe the lies that you're espousing? And this is just like a really good example of it. Like this is a really extreme example of it. But like the idea that you could get someone you could tell someone literally, direct them, go walk across the room, and when you ask them at the end of it, like, why did you do that? There's a possibility, just if their brain is separated from each other or whatever, if whatever surgery, XYZ, whatever, they're just able to say, I wanted water, and like genuinely believe it, and genuinely have like a fake memory in their head of feeling thirsty. That's so crazy. Like that's so meta.
What happens in that case is the left hemisphere seems to almost instantaneously generate a reason that the person believes for why they got up and started walking. And it doesn't seem to be that they're confabulating or that they're confused, or, this is done many, many, many times, repeated endlessly. And so a person in this situation might say, oh, I was thirsty, I was going to get some water. And time and time again, they truly seem to believe this. They somehow their brain generated a reason, based on survival or whatever, however our brains have evolved, that there needs to, or cooperation between the two hemispheres, who knows, but, and so time and again, you give the person a command through the right hemisphere. The experimenters know exactly why the person picked up that pencil, walked across the room, went to the elevator, whatever it was they were commanded to do. The left hemisphere has no idea and will say, oh, I needed to use the restroom. Oh, I thought I left my jacket in here. And so Michael Gazzaniga, the neuroscientist, the main neuroscientist who was involved in this research, calls this phenomenon the interpreter. And there's a lot of interesting neuroscience suggesting that there is some type of process like this that takes place in a healthy brain. And the truth is we can see this taking place a lot. I mean, we're very story-oriented animals. We can make lots of connections very easily, and we often think we have reasons for our behavior that we know to be incorrect. And
yeah, so I mean, the crucial...
Wouldn't it be so... Oh my God, no, sorry. Let me be careful. I love that I live in this day and age. I'm so lucky that I'm able to exist in modern times and that I don't have to worry about dying of dysentery. Okay, I really am. But I wish that I lived a little bit more in the future, just so I could have a better understanding of how the fuck our brain works and what is going on up here, because we don't know anything that's up here. Like, we don't even know if this is like purely biological or purely psychological. It's whether it's material or spiritual. I don't know if I'm a materialist or a spiritualist or a dualist. I have zero clue because we don't have enough information. I feel like this is an analogy I use a lot. I think where we are in our study of like brain psychology, neuroscience, whatever, is very is like a direct parallel basically to where we were in physics before Kepler in terms of like planetary motion, which, in case you don't know, Kepler basically is the one that figured out that our planets don't go in perfect circles, they go in ellipses. But before that, everyone thought that they went circular, because how could it even go anywhere other than circular, right? But then all of these things weren't making sense, like the retrogrades, they weren't making sense, and then these different like the different lengths of like the different cycles, it wasn't making sense, and then there were all these little like the shifts and whatever, all these little tiny things that were all in all these little different places that weren't making sense with it being a circle. But everyone just operated under the assumption that it was a circle until Kepler came in and was like, yo, what if it's an ellipse? What if there's two foci? What if it goes like this? And like, wait, I just know that there's someone out there that's gonna do the same thing for our brains. That's gonna be like, you guys are all stupid. You guys all think that this is a circle and it's actually an ellipse, or whatever the equivalent would be in our brain. I don't know. But I'm so sad that I'm not in that time yet, and I just have to sit here and wonder. But it's so feasible to me. Like, it's so non-feasible to me that in the future people will definitively come up with a written argument to convince people a priori that God exists, okay? But it is convincing to me that there would be a logistical logical chain to get to establish the consciousness and materialness of it, whatever.
Sure. Observation in that, I think, is that when you walk someone through the split brain patient stuff and you say, okay, you tell the right hemisphere of the brain to get up and walk, and when you ask the person, and it's only the left hemisphere that can respond, you expect that they'll say, oh, I don't know why I did that. I've got no idea, because they're confused by it, because they don't have any.
Found the video. Yay. Where's the volume?
And other people like me. And when I say like me, I don't just mean trans people, I mean artists. And when I say artists, I don't mean people who just paint or dance, but people who live, because living is the art. When they have to contend with us, they are reactivated in this childhood resentment that says, what do you mean we don't ever have to grow up in this way? And instead of being able to say, it hurts to see you because I have to reconsider all the lies I was told by my family and my culture, that I had to leave creativity, abandon wonder, suppress the parts of me that were most idiosyncratic, it is so much easier to dismiss you as foolish and naive. When you realize that, you actually feel so much grace and mercy for these people, because you're like, oh, you're just having a reaction to yourself. It's so many versions of you who have not found harmony. I've done that work. What healing is harmonizing with all of our ages.
I feel like I missed it. Sorry, I need more context.
For me and other people like me.
Is this... Other people's projections are not your responsibility. Is this a pro-trans thing, or is this a philosophy thing? I thought this was philosophy, so I was confused.
What I think happens from a lot of adults when they have to encounter me and other people like me, and when I say like me, I don't just mean trans people, I mean artists. And when I say artists, I don't mean people who just paint or dance, but people who live, because living is the art. When they have to contend with us, they are reactivated in this childhood resentment that says, what do you mean we don't ever have to grow up in this way? And instead of being able to say, it hurts to see you because I have to reconsider all the lies I was told by my family and my culture, that I had to leave creativity, abandon wonder, suppress the parts of me that were most idiosyncratic, it is so much easier to dismiss you as foolish and naive. When you realize that, you actually feel so much grace and mercy for these.
I get it. Okay. Okay, so I don't like the condescending tone. I don't know if they're doing it on purpose or not. But that's why I was like that's why I didn't hit the first time. I thought that we were being condescended in the beginning. But I agree with this. I think it's really, I think that's a basic fact of human nature. It's so much easier to deny when you have a delusional perception of the world around you, and people do something to break that perception, or to point out that it is delusional, or to counter that, the cognitive dissonance, it, like, in your brain just becomes so so overwhelming that you simply shut down. And it is just, well, no, because of whatever fallacy, whatever excuse, whatever whatnot you want to pull out your ass. But it's like a deep internal conflict, and it's a lot easier to sit there and blame everyone else around you and say that you're the problem to everyone, instead of like doing actual self-reflection, analyzing where you went wrong, and going forward. I thought about how pretentious they sounded as soon as they started explaining. Oh, I should have read this before. Yeah, they did. But your comments about Republicans understanding their processes, understanding their brains, and trying to this, how to direct thought. Yeah, true. The idea of someone's identity challenging the base philosophy of people, where subconsciously interested in things they do. The idea of someone's identity challenging the base philosophy of people, where it is subconsciously understood why they react the ways that they do. I don't know. Yes. Someone existing. See, that is exactly why a theist is so insistent on this idea that, and not all of them, okay? But that's why theists are so obsessed with this idea that if you don't have God, all morality just collapses, because it's so impossible to justify someone who's atheist living a moral life when your entire belief is that God is moral and everything that God is moral. So if you see any good people that don't believe in God, that's such a cognitive dissonance. It's impossible. You just can't have it. And so there is literally no theist out there that is okay with saying that that morality is subjective, or that morality is, or that free will is non-existent. Because if free will is non-existent, then none of us have any moral weight. If none of us have any moral weight, there is no moral standard that we're being held to. There is no higher standard. If there is no higher standard, what the fuck is God?
And they have no reason to lie in that situation either. They should be happy to. I mean, in other circumstances where they're being interrogated about things, they will say, I don't know, or I didn't see it. These are people who are not,
But in this case, weirdly, they don't say I don't know. They do know, but they're wrong.
But they're wrong.
And it just happens instantly. And so you said that this can happen in, or there's sort of conjecture at least, that this can happen in healthy brains too. What kind of examples might that kind of thinking manifest in? How would the interpreter work in a healthy brain?
So there's one relevant study. So one place here that we know human beings are at least sometimes or often wrong is in the process of decision making. And this is actually one of the intuitions that I like to shake up in all of my writing, and I do this in my documentary, this intuition that we have a conscious will. And so I always like to distinguish between what I call free will and conscious will, because free will, I think when most people use it, we're talking about like a decision making process that is in nature. And clearly there are decision making processes in nature, and the more complex the organism, the more complex the decision making process is. What I'm terming conscious will is the sense that it is our consciousness. It is the conscious thought, the conscious experience.
Where do you think morality comes from, if not God? I don't know how to put this in a succinct way, but I guess I think that there is not an objective in like the sense of like an absolute truth, metaphysical objective, like moral right. But I think that there's like an interpersonally established morality. I think over time humanity has become more moral as we've seen more trials and tribulations, and as we've tested and tried out what does and doesn't work for us, and what isn't beneficial to society. But I don't think that is like, I think that we can continue shifting the moral standards higher. I don't know, I feel like just to give some very elementary examples, like, I don't know, we were amoral with slavery, then we became more moral with slavery, and then we were amoral with gender, and then we became more moral with gender, and then we were like amoral with gay, and now we're more moral with gay. And like, I don't know. I feel like we're just progressively going more and more and more towards, I guess, like the Baha'i idea of unity. But yeah, I think morality isn't to answer the question. I think morality doesn't come from anything. I think morality is established amongst the human species, amongst conscious beings. Similar to Annika Harris, I think consciousness is fundamental.
Conscious feeling that is the will itself. And what's interesting about what modern neuroscience tells us is that our
Another quote that was very appealing in that interview was about how everything internally is your own heaven and hell. Bad decisions take you further. Yeah, I think I remember thinking of the show Lucifer, because in that show Lucifer, the way that they do hell is like your own mental, like you're in hell because you think that you deserve to be in hell. You're not in hell because some higher power put you in hell. It's because like you have to work through your own internal guilt. And I really agree with that, because I think this is where I have a very I need to figure out how to more succinctly put this view of mine into words to explain it to people. But I don't think that we have moral weight in our personhood. I think that you can say that things are morally wrong more than you can say that things are, like, I think that there is an objective moral wrong. I don't think that there is an objective moral right in the same way. So what I think is morally wrong is acting in dissonance, like in not following the order of whatever patterns and pattern recognition like behaviors you have established in your mind. So for an example, if you grow up thinking that the way to show love is by slapping someone in the face, okay, and then you go out in the real world and you find someone that you love and you slap them in the face, I don't think that that's like morally condemnable, because you grew up thinking that that's how you show love. And so it's not so much the intention, like it's not like, oh, if you have good intentions, like, well, your intention was to show love. It's more of like, well, what's your pattern, like what are you capable of understanding? If you were given an incentive structure to learn that love is shown through this painful like slap in the face, I can't hold you like accountable for acting on that and for following your patterns and in showing love. So I think that's fine. But then on the flip side, if you have someone who grew up in a really normal family and they, I don't know, for like a really good reason, like, I don't know, someone threatened to slap them first and then they slap someone in the face, well, I think that's like morally, that's kind of fucked, because slapping is wrong. Like, you shouldn't be hitting people. You're breaking a pattern that was established in your brain. So anyways, okay, so going off of sorry, that your own heaven and hell is like in your brain, it goes off of that. If you know that you're breaking your own your own personal patterns that you have in your head, that's what puts you in hell. I like that idea. I fuck with that idea.
Conscious awareness of making the decision is at the tail end of a lot of other processing. And so one more recent study that was done that I find so fascinating, I believe it was 2013 or 2014, they put participants in an fMRI machine and showed them a screen with two numbers. And they were given the instructions that with these two numbers, you can either add or subtract them. There's a kind of a clock, like with a second, I mean, it's not a clock with a second hand, I actually forget the name of the device, but it's so that the participant in the scanner can mark the moment they make the decision. So it's, for all intents and purposes, a second hand going around. They look at two numbers. They know they're going to decide whether to add or subtract the two numbers. They mark the moment where they make the decision. And all the while, their brains are being scanned functionally in an MRI machine. And the researchers can tell up to 4 seconds not only which they were going to decide whether to add or subtract, but at what, not just when, but what they were going to do, whether they were going to add or subtract. So up to 4 seconds prior, they know when the decision is going to be made and what decision will be made. There are kind of countless examples of this. I talk a lot about priming processes in the brain in my book and in my documentary series, which again shows lots of processes that feel to us that we are consciously in the present moment with them, when in fact, all of these things are taking place before we have any conscious awareness of them. So sorry, did I say priming? I didn't mean priming. David Eagleman talks about this a lot in his work, where all of the signals that are kind of coming in through our senses come in at different times. Binding. These are binding
right.
processes. Yes.
So putting together different sort of sensory inputs, light, sound, all that kind of stuff.
So sound waves travel at different speeds than light waves. Our touch receptors, and then all of these things need to be communicated to the brain. They all take different amounts of time to be received by the brain and then processed by the brain. All of that happens in about 500 milliseconds before we have the experience of whatever it is, hitting a key on the piano or playing tennis. We have the experience of seeing the ball hit the racket, hearing the ball hit the racket, and feeling it hit the racket all in the same moment, when the signals are actually traveling at different speeds and get processed by the brain at different speeds. And so these are all called binding processes.
Ooh, isn't that crazy? Your awareness of your choices literally has zero to do with the choices that you make. Like, absolutely nothing. You're not even aware of the choice that you're going to make before you make it. Crazy.
Again, it shows how our conscious experience kind of lags behind the physical world, where all of these things are taking place that feel that, we are receiving them in the exact moment that they're taking place, when in fact our conscious awareness is often, I would say most often, at the tail end of a lot of processing, including decision making. And so we have this experience, I think it's another reason why we've assumed that consciousness is complex. We have this experience that making a decision happens in the present moment of the conscious experience, when in fact almost everything is put into place before you have the experience. And this is related to the interpreter, where you can have an experience saying, oh yes, I'm thirsty and that's why, when you're kind of unaware of all the behind the scenes processing that's taking place before you have the conscious experience.
Yeah, of course we are knocking quite loudly at the door here of the free will discussion, but I think that of course is sort of its own thing. The question that springs to mind for me right now is like, you mentioned before this idea of the self, and you're talking there about different inputs coming in. I mean, if you see a cargo pass and you experience the maybe the sort of feeling of fear, and you see the visual of the car and you hear it coming towards you, maybe you even feel vibrations in the air like the wind or something, and that all gets kind of put together into one experience. It feels like that is, I feel like I've sort of got a self as me sat here, and all of these things approach the self, are taken in by the self, and then the self puts them all together.
Yeah.
But you could also think of my conscious experience not as something which receives those inputs, but just those inputs sort of all just put together. How do you best think of like the recipient of these sensory inputs?
Yeah, I mean, it's tricky because there's, I'm often thinking about what does A, B, or C mean if consciousness is fundamental. And so there's kind of different ways to look at this, whether we're talking about consciousness being fundamental or not. Let's start with just what we already know about the self. So memory is largely responsible for this experience of, and what I refer to as the illusion of feeling like a self is the sense that we are this concrete entity, kind of as you described as the receiver, that we kind of move through time and we receive all of these moments, we experience all of these different things, but that there's some kind of solid entity that is moving through time. When in fact, I think, the experience of being a self is better described as a kind of endlessly fluctuating phenomenon in nature. I often use the analogy of a wave. We say wave as if it's a single thing, but if we're looking at ocean waves, if we're talking about waves, we understand that what it is an endlessly changing process in nature. It's not a static thing. And that is clearly what the brain is doing. That is what our experience is. Every new experience we have is generated anew by neuronal activity in each new moment. And so the self, the illusory piece is that we're not that it's not an ever-changing process, but that there's something solid moving through time. And I think that is creating.
That's what they sort of speak about when they talk about this in relationships. You might emphasize your sense of hunger subconsciously, and that bears out in anger/frustration, but we don't know why. My favorite study, I actually only know this from Alex O'Connor because he says it a lot, is like the judge study. I think they did it in Denmark or like the Netherlands or something. Are those the same country? I have no clue. Is the Netherlands Dutch? I don't know. Where they looked at like what the single most like impactful characteristic was, or like factor was with judges when they were sentencing their prisoners to sentences, and the only the biggest determining factor was how recently that judge had eaten lunch. And like if you had a judge that had just eaten lunch, you were like 40% more likely to get a lighter sentence, which is just crazy, like absolutely batshit crazy.
Created by a couple of things, memory being one of the main ones, but the other one is something you talked about too, which is our perceptions. And so yes, there's this illusory effect of things happening in nature simultaneously, or of having a conscious thought that lead us to kind of create this sense or this illusion of being a solid self, when that doesn't really accurately describe the underlying reality. And so you mentioned, fear and having this experience of the fear being the thing, the experience of fear being the thing that's driving us. And this is often an example that people use when they try to make an evolutionary argument for consciousness evolving and affecting our behavior in that way. But again, it's another case of this same phenomenon where our bodies and brains actually respond very quickly. If we see a car coming at us, or if we encounter a bear on a hike, any of these things that we have this intuition that, oh, it's the fact that I'm feeling the fear that gets me to respond so quickly. That's actually not the case. Our bodies respond much faster and our brains are responding before we actually have the conscious awareness of what the situation that we're even in is. This reminds me of a really interesting story that one of the neuroscientists.
I want to give a huge shout out to Joshua right now for single-handedly beating like the high score. Good for my algorithm.
I interviewed told me, so Patrick House is a neuroscientist I interview who's in the documentary. He studied toxoplasmosis, this parasite that affects the behavior of rats, which is incredibly interesting. That led him into this area of free will because the parasite affects the rat's likes and dislikes and actually changes their behavior, affects the neurotransmitters. And so it's very interesting to then start to think about where is the self, where is the free will, in this system, if the desires and preferences can be changed by a parasite that enters the brain. So he was actually working on a story. He was interviewed.
Today's number 1. This week is the 1-year anniversary of the Prof G Markets feed. Speaking of babies, Ed, when someone hands me their baby, you know what I say?
What do you say?
Sorry, I'm a vegetarian.
Weird joke, and we won't speak.
I am also a vegetarian. Actually, no, that's a lie. I'm a pescatarian.
Speaking about baby, or I guess 1-year anniversary. I put it together.
Ed, what sexual position guarantees the ugliest baby?
What?
Ask your father. Ask your father, Ed. Ask your father.
That's good.
How are you, Ed? Happy anniversary.
I like that. Yeah, happy anniversary. What kind of emotions does this bring up for you? We've been doing this for a year now. At least we've been doing this dedicated podcast for a year.
It's just exceptionally rewarding to watch your growth and the growth of the team. And I'm so used to virtue signaling. I can't even I'm so used to being full of shit. By the way, the FT is doing the FT's no joke doing a profile. Let's get back to me. The FT is doing a profile on me and they count.
The FT really likes us. They let me write an article for them a few weeks ago.
Did they really? Oh, and by the way, so anyway, back to me. Who the fuck cares about you? Stop acting like me and turning it back to you.
Yeah, something came over me. I don't know what happened.
The FT is doing a profile on me. And they came over and they were like taking photos and all this stuff. So I feel like that is literally the closest to British royalty I will ever get. The FT is doing a profile on me. I'm going to be one of these guys that spends $1 billion. Like something like half the lords and the knights are billionaires. Yeah, but it's not.
I would love to be able to watch that stuff while I work, but it needs so much intentionality. I'm not working. I'm doing my nails.
Not a pay-for-play thing. Don't think that. But I figure like things are cheaper here, so I'm wondering if like $2 or $3 million, I can be like one of these honorary princes that gets
100%
gets a title. So I want to be some sort of Lord or Prince of Wales, and I'm going to change my name to Shamu, and I'll be Shamu, Prince of Wales. That's worth a few $1 million.
I think you could easily get knighted. Just throw your money around, become friends with the right people. That's certainly in your future.
I told you right when I moved there, they invited me to 11 Downing Street.
Hold on. Scott.
Yeah?
It's 10 Downing Street.
10 Downing. 11 Downing? Oh, maybe that's why they didn't invite me back. It's 10 Downing? Thank you. It's good to have some local knowledge. Anyways, so I went down. First time I went down, they didn't have me on the guest list. Thought I was so important. Went down. They're like, and the woman called me, oh, I'm so sorry we forgot you were coming in. Went in, and they wanted to put me on the governing body for UK football.
Really?
Yeah. I thought, I know nothing about football, but it sounds like a shit ton of fun, and I get to go to games.
Oh my God. You didn't tell me that part.
Oh yeah. First they wanted me on it's called the OFC, the Office of Communications, where you regulate Facebook and all that shit. And I'm like, oh my God, that sounds awful. And they're like, well, we're putting together a governing body for UK for the Premier League. And I'm like, I am so in. I'll be hated. The American making bad decisions around UK at the sports pastime.
Yeah, the Todd Bowley of governance will be good.
I know this is going to come as a shock, but they haven't called me back. So I think this pod has something to do with it.
You didn't look the part, I guess.
I'm not in the British government. Let's talk about us. 1 year. What are your reflections on the incredible opportunity afforded you?
It's been a very good year. It's been a transformative year for me. One thing I was thinking, we're coming up on 4 years of me working for you. I started working for you in June 2021. And that to me is really shocking. That feels like a really long time that I've been working for you. I'm not sure how it feels for you.
Yeah, it's shocking.
I thought you were frozen.
I'm dazed.
I stopped talking because I thought you were frozen. Your face was so still, zero reaction or emotion.
I'm thinking clear and have migraines. That was definitely shocking.
That's a long time, no? It feels like a long time for me.
It has been a while. This has been your only job since you got out of college, right?
Yep.
No, it's amazing how fast it's gone. So you came to work with I again, love the story about your...
Chat has a border and a drop shadow because chat is a browser tab on my MacBook. Okay, this is just another arc tab. Thank you.
Tribal's calling me and saying, I have a gift for you. And I'm like, oh, great. And she's like, Ed Ellison. And I'm like, yeah?
Remember the name.
She's like, he's my son's best friend, and you have to hire him tomorrow. You're welcome. And I'm like, well, what role? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. She's like, she literally bullied me into hiring you. Anyways.
And it panned out.
Prop G Markets is now, it's our fastest growing pod in the pod willing franchise, which is the LLC I just invented to put all this shit in so I could engage in massive tax evasion. I mean, just bring some synergies together.
I just realized the microphone was really far away from me. Hello.
Around the back end and the infrastructure. And because our average age is 34, to reach as many 34-year-old males on CNBC, you'd have to watch CNBC until 2088 to reach as many young men.
By the way, you recognize, I had my very first TV appearance last week.
You were fantastic. They got your name wrong in the Chiron. That's the first thing I noted.
They call me Ed Olson. And I said, you know what? Who cares?
I'm like, wow, this Ed Olson guy looks a lot like Ed Elson. You were outstanding. You were measured.
Thank you.
The particular reason that I chose this look is because I don't know how to do the transparent background. If you know how to do the transparent background, I would love to have the transparent background because then I would just have it in this little corner and I wouldn't waste any screen space. I would just have it over here because I don't have anything over here. Yes, I am on OBS. Okay, I'm not going to do this right now. Add me on Discord. Lovely Perfect Talks.
They had all these, the average age. By the way, I love Katie Tour.
Yeah.
Right out of Central Casting to be a
great host. Yeah.
A great host for 70-year-old men to be like, oh, where's Katie? Where's that young whippersnapper Katie? Where's my oxygen tank? 1 year. You're
just imitating yourself at this point.
I'm telling you, I got this new brand of edibles and it's working. It's working. I did it last night and I called a friend I'd talked to in about 3 years and she went, are you all right? I could not stop talking.
This is fun, but we should really get to the show, right?
That's my line. I'm sorry. Just tell me a little bit more about your parents on MSNBC. Okay, that's enough. Let's get to the headlines. Hit it.
I didn't know this kid's parents were on MSNBC. I feel like we need to. Oh my god, I don't even know who we is. I need to do more research on who the fuck people are. Okay, I didn't know that Hassan Piker was related to Cenk Uygur. I didn't know that Hassan Piker used to work for the Young Turks. I just don't know any of that. I didn't know that this motherfucker was related to an MSNBC mofo. What the hell? You know what? I don't care enough. Trees. You gotta be able to find like a YouTube article. Yeah, probably. I could also probably ask my editor. I could probably ask Adam. Like, I could probably do a lot of things. I don't care enough.
Actually, before that, I have to make one announcement, and this is a big announcement. We're going to be publishing this show every single day of the week.
We're going daily.
Monday through Friday. You can get your fix for Prof G Markets. It'll be the most up-to-date coverage of the markets from the Prof G team.
Discord is Lovely Perfect Talks. Everything is Lovely Perfect Talks except for my TikTok, which is Lovely Perfect Swag. Thank you. Yeah. Instagram, Blue Sky, Discord. What other social media do I have? I don't know. I think that's it.
And you're going to be hearing it every single day because who wouldn't want more of us, right?
All I got to say is we're doing this because it's rewarding and we're CNBC. We're coming for your bitch ass.
That's right. And we're taking Josh Brown with us. Your star talent, we're taking him with us.
Oh, we love Josh Brown.
All right. Let's start with the weekly review of market vitals. The S&P 500 rallied on news of US-China negotiations. The dollar jumped before giving up those gains as optimism faded. Bitcoin fell and the yield on 10-year treasuries increased. shifting to the headlines. United Health Group had a terrible week, first dropping as much as 18% after the company pulled its guidance and announced its CEO is stepping down. And then 2 days later, the stock fell 17% on news that the
Is Luigi out or something? Why is the CEO sitting down?
Justice Department is investigating the company for Medicare fraud. At the time of this recording, shares are at a 5-year low. Warner Brothers Discovery announced it's bringing back the HBO Max name for its streaming platform. The change will take effect this summer. It will reverse the rebrand they introduced just 2 years ago, and this marks the platform's 5th name change in just 5 years. And finally, Airbnb is expanding its offerings by allowing travelers to book services, such as spa treatments and personal training, right at their rental. The company is also reimagining Airbnb experiences by placing a greater focus on authentic, locally led activities. Okay, United Health. Crazy dramatic month for this company. I mean, first they had that bad earnings report in April, and that was their first miss since 2000.
How is Marjorie Taylor Greene?
They cut guidance.
I didn't know that.
The stock fell 20%. Then last week, the CEO steps down. They pull their guidance. The stock falls another 18%. Then Wall Street Journal 2 days later reports they're being investigated for Medicare fraud, down another 17%. So we're now looking at, in just 1 month, a 57% destruction in value for what was one of the top 15 most valuable companies in the world. So I think if anyone's wondering, like, why is the stock falling so much? It's a combination of there are real issues that the company is dealing with, but also these were all surprises.
Thank you for tuning in, CD. I hope you have a great night. I don't know how. I'm going up in viewers. Like, I don't have that many. Don't worry. There's only like 30 of you guys. But it just went up from 20, so the fuck are you guys doing up watching me at 3 a.m.?
Surprises. Like the CEO stepping down, that was a surprise. The suspension of the guidance, an even bigger surprise. And then the kicker, of course, is this Medicare fraud investigation. And as we've discussed, Wall Street hates surprises. But I think the other side of this that is worth thinking about, United Health is kind of a bellwether for the healthcare industry. So, when it goes up, so do the other healthcare stocks. When it goes down, so do the other healthcare stocks. And that's what we saw here, where CVS dropped, Elevance dropped, Humana dropped, lots of other healthcare stocks fell with it. And so I think the question people are asking now is, are the problems that this company is facing, are they specific to the company, or are they industry-wide? And the market appears to believe they're somewhat industry-wide. That's why you're seeing the devaluations in these other stocks. And I think that probably has to do with what we're seeing in politics. We're seeing talks about lowering drug prices, increasing price transparency, giving Medicare more negotiating power, all these things that would be great for consumers, as we've talked about, but that would hurt the healthcare industry, hurt the bottom line. My view is, if history is any guide, healthcare investors have nothing to worry about. Because what history would tell you is that lobbying ultimately wins. And who is the greatest lobbyist in America? It's the healthcare industry. $300 million in lobbying last year, more than any other sector, more than double what oil and gas spend. Never underestimate the power of lobbying and what it can do for your stock price. So I look at what's happening with United Health. I see this as a company-specific problem. They're dealing with internal issues. They have the PR crisis with the shooting of the CEO a few months ago. They're also uniquely exposed to Medicare and these higher costs that are coming with it. So to me, this is a United Health problem, not a healthcare problem.
A lot there. I agree with you. And I hate to say this, this is probably a buying opportunity. For this stock to get cut in half, yeah, it's probably because, to your point, there's so much regulatory capture. I mean, these are American companies donating money to American politicians such that they can implement laws such that we have to pay more for drugs that were invented and manufactured here than they pay in Mexico or Canada, such that these American companies and their CEOs and their shareholders can get rich through incremental price gouging of American households, where we have ended up with 40% of American households have some sort of medical or dental debt. And in America, we pay $13,000 per capita per consumer.
You know how fucking batshit crazy it is that vision and dental don't get covered on most insurance plans? I need to see. I need to see. Like, I need to physically see. Like, what do you mean it's not covered by insurance? I need to see. You'll cover me peeing in a cup, but you won't cover my fucking sight?
For our healthcare. The UK, Canada, Australia, all the other G6 nations average around $6,500. So we're paying $6,500 more per person, and we're more obese and die earlier and have more diabetes and more anxiety and depression. So we pay double for a product that is worse. If you were to figure out a way to bring those costs in line with the rest of the G6 who have better outcomes, 355 million people times $6,500, I think it's somewhere around $2.2 or $2.4 trillion. And those costs flow through our entitlements and drive up the cost of government. In addition, the amount of money and misery that people who have to work too hard, people who can't go to work because they're unhealthy, all of this bullshit around Make America Healthy Again is nothing but a distraction. To talk about dyes and vaccines is a distraction from the real problems. The thing that is hurting America is income inequality. If you really wanted to make America healthier again, raise minimum wage to $25 an hour. There are just too many people who are obese, and the reason they're obese is because they work so damn hard, they don't have time to get to the gym, and they don't have enough money, so they have to stuff themselves with the cheapest form of calories, which is fast food. But we don't want to have those difficult conversations. So we have to go after healthcare. And the only way you're going to go after healthcare is through figuring out Citizens United and getting lobbyists out of the picture here, because they are literally raping and molesting the U.S. consumer and creating 40% of America has dental or medical debt. Can you imagine the tax that puts on people's psyche and their levels of just prosperity and well-being and mental wellness? And then you come back, I think what's happened is I think people are so pissed off at these companies that anytime someone in the DOJ or the FTC or whoever raises their hand and says, should we investigate these guys? I think they're very inclined to investigate these guys. I think they are pissed off at these companies. So there's two ways to look at it. Is this the chickens coming home to roost? Or is this just a temporary blip where the Americans will move on to something else and the lobbyists will figure out a way to continue to charge Americans double what they pay anywhere else in the world for worse health outcomes, such that the shareholders and the management of these companies can continue to soak America? And the story that brings it all home for me, I read the most heartbreaking story. So the New York Times has this section called Recent Weddings. Have you seen it? And it's just this lovely section where they have a nice picture of two people in Central Park, and it talks about their nuptials. So they bended the rules for the first time, and they did a wedding announcement of a young woman and a man, and did the whole full write-up, and she was in her gown, and they weren't getting married. And the reason they made an exception is this woman has a glioblastoma. She has an incurable brain cancer, right? And she's decided that they're going to get married. They're going to have a ceremony, but they're not going to get legally married because she's worried he would inherit her medical debt. And I mean, you hear this shit and you're just like, Jesus Christ, this is the most prosperous nation in the world? And we're letting that kind of misery on people? Anyways, that brings home, the American healthcare system is not only making us sicker physically, it is levying so much strain and pressure on people. And I just love that these companies are getting kicked in the nuts.
But again, it's company. And this is sort of my point. It's like United Health has its own set of problems that they're dealing with. One of them being one of the executives of their company got murdered, plus the fact that their business is, they're very much tied to Medicare, and what they're dealing with right now is that there are all these old people who didn't get these treatments that they were thinking of getting during COVID, and suddenly they all come now and they need knee replacements and hip replacements, etc. And this is a problem for United Health because now they have to actually pay for those treatments. Before they were barely paying for treatments and then still collecting all the insurance. So that's a United Health specific problem, and now you have this investigation. But I think the things that you get out there are important, and I think the question is, how do you fix it? And the only way you really fix it right now, it's about getting the cost of drugs down. And the most obvious way you do that is you increase price transparency, and you create laws that force these companies and these PBMs to publish what the price is. You wrote a really good, Your No Mercy this week is really good, I read it. And you cite this presentation by this guy, Brian Lawrence, where he basically says that, health insurance today, it's akin to using auto insurance to buy gasoline. Like, it doesn't make any sense that we don't even know what we're paying for when we sign up for these treatments until after the fact. And we can never figure out what these medical bills are. So we need more price transparency, which, by the way, Biden worked on, and actually Trump worked on a little bit too, but we haven't really seen that come to any fruition. And then we need Medicare to be able to have the ability to negotiate on prices, which is what every other country has, and we don't have it for some reason. Again, Biden changed that in the Inflation Reduction Act, but we still haven't seen really any reduction in the price of drugs, I think because it hasn't been properly enforced. And the last thing I will say, I looked back at our conversation with Jonathan Cantor, who's the previous head of the antitrust division of the DOJ, and we asked him the question, what is the one industry that most needs regulation and increased regulatory enforcement, specifically from an antitrust perspective? And his number one answer was healthcare.
When you talk about Medicare, for example, there have been studies by the Wall Street Journal and reports about massive billions upon billions of dollars in overcharging due to things called upcoding, which is when an insurance company goes in, they take someone on Medicare, make them look really sick, and then they get to bill for all that, but then they don't necessarily reimburse for all that, and they keep the money in between. These are the kinds of areas you would focus if you're actually trying to make government less expensive and more efficient.
He talked about a company like United Health is placing itself on both sides of the trade in a lot of cases where they're offering the insurance, but then they're also a pharmacy benefit manager at the same time. So they're sort of buying and selling from itself. But I think it was really interesting that he said that. And I hope that what we will see is some increase in.
Guys, shout out to Hunter. Actual fucking God. Also, my camera died, so that means I'm logging off. Wow, I'm so large. Hang on, there we go. Woohoo! Hang on, so this would be the ideal. Let me just get this set up for tomorrow. Hopefully tomorrow. Actually, I don't know if it's coming tomorrow. But I used the super chats that I got on like the first day that I streamed to buy a Wi-Fi extender. So hopefully my fucking thing will stop being so laggy all the time. Oh my God, this is amazing. This is so much better. This is beautiful. Wow. I love it. I'm so happy. This made my day. Wait, fuck. Woohoo! This was such a productive day. I'm so happy. Okay, now I can just click this on OBS and now I see the chat. Beautiful. This is lovely. This is perfect. Thank you so much. Beautiful. 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 Do you typically cap your quality at 480? No. Is it at 480 right now? I'm so sorry if you guys are watching it at 480. That sucks. No, it's just the Wi-Fi extender because my computer doesn't act this slow unless I'm live streaming. As soon as I hop on a live stream, all of a sudden it takes forever for my browser pages to open. And I usually always have like 30 million fucking video tabs open at the same time. It's a MacBook Pro. It's like able to handle a fat amount of whatever you want to call it. But what's it called? But yeah, Wi-Fi extender. I don't even know where I was going with Wi-Fi extender. What video card do you have? How do I check that? I'm just a girl. I don't know. I think I have like 6 gigabytes of RAM. I could be lying. I have 8 gigabytes of memory. What does that mean? How do I check the RAM? I don't fucking know. Oh my god, this is so bad that I'm just using you guys for tech support. Thank you. I appreciate it. Okay. Nope, don't know what I'm doing. I think I clicked on the wrong thing. I have no idea. Bong hit time. Can I join? Might need a tax write-off a new computer. Excuse me. I would never do a tax write-off. Yes, I am on a Mac. I'm actually really surprised that my computer has been able to withstand this long of a stream. This is actually a lot better than I thought. It's been what, like oh my god, I've been on for 3.5 hours. Holy shit, why are you guys still watching me? What the fuck? Jesus Christ. You can claim it for the channel on taxes. That's phenomenal. I wish I knew how to do that. I wish I was like, so see, this is my stance on tax fraud. It's the same stance that I have on people taking advantage of the welfare system. Okay, if you're able to do it, if you have the willpower to do it, if you're smart enough to do it, you deserve it. Okay, if you needed to do it that bad, you deserve it. You should take it. Yeah, you're right. I forget that I'm in like literally the latest part of the country. It's probably very normal for the majority of the rest of you guys. It's fucking psycho. No, I'm staying up doing my nails, which I'm getting distracted from. You're a tattooer? That's so cool.
Regulating this industry. But again, I don't see this as totally structural yet, because I still look at the money in lobbying and the fact that it's $300 million last year that was spent on healthcare lobbying. I'm not that optimistic at a structural level.
So I think over time, the only way to really do that, I think, and I hate to say it because I always have this gag reflex. Well, I'm not a man, I'm not macho, I'm not capitalist. If I recommend socialized medicine, for God's sakes, we need socialized medicine.
Yeah.
The only way to solve the deficit, in my opinion, is to move to socialized medicine. And the only way we do that is to figure out a series of executive actions or some sort of legislation or the right Supreme Court justices to overturn Citizens United, because money has just...
What does socialized medicine mean? Okay, because I don't think that I don't know what socialized medicine means. I don't like that.
I mean, the greatest return on investment in our economy is when these healthcare companies give money to politicians.
I would encourage everyone to go look at Senate Bill 3548, which was supposed to address all of this, and it was actually backed by both sides. And you look at what happened, it was proposed, and now suddenly it's just dead. And you try to ask the question, what happened to the bill? And everyone says, oh, it just sort of didn't get reviewed, and it just got kind of held up in Congress, and so now it's dead.
What is that called? I think it's called pigeonholing. Let's see how well I know my political terms. A committee may stop action, table, or pigeonhole a bill it deems unwise or unnecessary, which kills the bill or stops its progress.
It's unbelievable how you just see this happen, how the money in politics actually does just grind these things to a halt. And you don't really know it because it's such a soft and unceremonious death. Like you sort of forget about.
I don't think I'm for universal healthcare. I don't think so. I don't think. Like for free? Like as in zero, like no one pays for anything? Okay, obviously not for free as in no one pays for everything, for anything, but I think that I think we should expand which one is the one for old people and which one is the one for poor people? I don't know. Whatever the one for poor people is, I think we should expand the one for poor people and the one for children. And I also think that we should expand, actually no, we should expand both of them. But other than that, I don't know. I don't think that the healthcare system needs to be that controlled by the state. I don't know. Is it bad that I think that I'm willing to change on this? If I should do more research on this. There's only 30 of you guys, so don't clip me and hold me to this when I run for president in 2028. But is it bad that I think that it's fine for us to have like an internationalized medical system? Like I know so many people that go to Turkey for hair replacements. Like I know that that's a thing. I know that people go to even just within like the country too. I know people go to Florida a lot for like veneers. Because it's a lot cheaper there. I know my family always goes to El Salvador for dental because it's a lot cheaper over there. Like, I don't know. I feel like it's relatively okay for different countries to have different specializations and different things that they are cheaper at. The US is like everything else, like everything generic. We have such easy access to for so little. And if we expanded Medicare, whatever, Medicaid, both of them, then everyone who has access, or everyone who needs it in an ideal world, obviously, would have access to it. So, I don't know. I feel like that wouldn't be super... I'm obviously not saying that everyone should have to like fly international to get like dental care, but I don't think that it's a bad thing inherently for different countries to have more cheaper specified procedures if it makes sense for that country to have it cheaper. You know what I mean?
About the issue. But go look up that bill, because that addresses everything we're talking about: price negotiations, price transparency, and it just sort of flopped in Congress. Let's move on. Very different vibe. HBO is doing another rebrand. Their 5th rebrand in 5 years. We had HBO Go, then HBO Now, then HBO Max, then Max, and we are back to HBO Max. Scott, our producer Claire, has a clip that she wants.
John, what part of expand the Medicare for poor people, does that not cover that? We're talking about healthcare for families who can't afford to travel, okay? If they're families that can't afford for travel, they'll probably qualify for the Medicare.
It's to play where I'm going to look very foolish.
HBO Max, this will go down in history.
The entire free world does not have free healthcare. I don't...
As a first ballot Hall of Fame, head up your ass brand strategy move. There's something in brand strategy. We spend 2 sessions in my brand strategy course at NYU called brand architecture. HBO, a brand is a series of intangible associations that result in a rational trial or margin. You could have infinite capital and you couldn't build a brand like HBO in 2, 3, 5, maybe even 10 years. And they're taking that brand and immolating it so they can call it Max. I mean, this is an outrage.
I actually like this rebrand. I said I liked it on Twitter. I said I just think it sounds cleaner. And I got a lot of pushback, a lot of unfollows, interestingly. But the way I see it, there are all of these other production companies. They have to now transition getting the Discovery Plus content onto the Max platform. Don't you think that Max is just kind of cleaner?
Well, first off, let's nod to your logic and let's change the name of your educational institution to Prince because it's cleaner, Ed. It's cleaner.
Wow, this is my 1 year. This is my birthday. You admitting you were wrong and I was right. That doesn't happen very often here. HBO has developed it is the artisanal brand. It is the Hermes. It is the Ferrari. It is, it is the Beverly Hills Hotel of Hotels.
Oh my god, I need to just link like a Destiny clip in chat. That's just Destiny going over this. You can't have like fast healthcare, good healthcare, and cheap healthcare. And I'm okay with just having good healthcare and fast healthcare and the best healthcare. Like I'm okay with that. It sucks. Sorry. There are always things that are hard in life and things that are bigger than us, that are out of our control.
It is the premier artisanal brand in media, and their ability to attract the best talent, and they've been able to maintain this culture that attracts the best talent, has resulted in a streaming network that is, if there's people talking about,
I work in a doctor's office, fuck yes, we have fast healthcare. Like, yes, yeah, comparatively to Israel, where you have to wait for fucking ever to get seen by a doctor, not just because of the war that's going on right now, compared to, like, oh my god, yes, we have fast healthcare.
A zeitgeist cultural moment, it's usually because of a show on HBO, whether it's Succession, whether it's The Last of Us, or Game of Thrones, or The Sopranos.
Or The White Lotus featuring Scott Galloway.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
They have figured out a way to capture lightning in a bottle more often than any other firm on $2.5 million in content budget versus Netflix at $18 billion. To take that brand and fuck with it like this shows that you are a terrible fiduciary for shareholder value. It means no one on the board. A board kind of has 3 jobs. 1, if and when to sell the company. 2, hiring and firing the CEO, make sure you have the right guy or gal. But also 3, you should have some domain expertise on the board such that you can save the CEO from him or herself. You can occasionally weigh in and go, you may want to think this through. Or they call on you. If you have a really good relationship, they call you and say, what are your thoughts around this? The fact that they did 5 brand changes in 5 years and they decided to do away with what is one of the greatest brands in the history of media shows there's no one on the board that has any sense of marketing or branding. What is even worse about all of this is that this is probably the worst board in media. Warner Brothers.
You can't be serious right now. It can take hours to see a doctor without an appointment. It can take hours. Is this real? Oh no, you might have to wait as a walk-in for a doctor? Terrifying. I could go to urgent care right now and probably be seen within the day. I mean, not right now, it's probably 3 a.m., but do you know how lucky I am that I could go into urgent care and just get seen? I could go into the ER and just get seen without having any, oh my gosh, insane.
Discovery, since the merger, the stock is down 62%. All right, that's bad. They face a lot of headwinds. Despite shareholders losing almost 2/3 of their value, the board has decided to pay their CEO, David Zaslav, $387 million over the last 4.5 years. So shareholders, you give us $1, we'll give you back 38 cents. But we're going to give our CEO, who oversaw this destruction in shareholder value, $1/3 billion. This is a absolute destruction in shareholder value. It shows that the people who, some of the most creative people in the world, can't save themselves from themselves. And I will say this, a step back from the wrong direction is a step in the right direction, so good for them. They probably realized they really needed HBO. I'm triggered by this because HBO has literally garnered some, in my opinion, has...
Okay. If the issue in Canada, if people are complaining that it takes hours to see a doctor without an appointment, that's obviously retarded, okay? I think what the critique is, or what happens is doctors, because they're forced to take everyone, they have a shit ton of patients, okay? When a doctor has, I think my office has like 500 and something, like over 500 something patients. It's so much paperwork. It's so much follow-up. It's like, not only do you have, like, you would think it's just like, oh, annual physical, that's it, done. No, it's like an annual physical. You have to get the follow-up. If they're older, they have to get a blood test. If they're with specific insurance companies, they have to get annual insurance claims for those specific companies. If they're getting a life insurance thing, that they have to do a specific evaluation for the life insurance. They have to get blood tested specifically if they have a specific, whatever. There's so many different things that if doctors are forced to take every patient, not over 500 daily, over 500 patients in total, obviously. If doctors are forced to take in every patient, like, you know, like there's a wait list. Like, we're not accepting any new patients right now because we physically do not have the time slots. You also have to think, like, the doctor's only working between X amount of hours to X amount of hours, okay? Between those hours, they can only see what, like maybe 10, 15 patients in a day. And it's like, if the patient's only available after 3 o'clock because they get out of work, or before X amount, whatever, because of XYZ, it's like, it fills up so quickly. And it's like, I don't think I don't think that the critique is, I don't have an appointment and I'm waiting a couple of hours to get seen. I think the critique is I literally called 6 doctors and none of them are accepting patients. Like, I don't know who to see.
Has inspired some of the most incredible moments in creative history. When Jon Snow and...
Which also, this is an issue that happens in America. Firsthand experience. I have... whatever the poor one is, Medicaid or Medicare, whatever that is, and I just had to switch my doctor because I grew up, so I had to get a general physician other than not my pediatrician, whatever, and I had to call like 3 different offices because the first 2 weren't accepting new patients, but those were the only ones that took my insurance. So this is the thing.
Ygritte, when Ygritte comes to her end in Game of Thrones, I think there's some incredible love stories in there. And plus, Game of Thrones, hands down, everyone always said, what about a porno if it was a really good story with high production values? Congratulations, that's all Game of Thrones. My son, true story, my son did not refuse to have the sex talk with me. I said, okay, it's time for your sex talk. He screamed out no and started running from me. He literally just refused to have the talk. I said, okay, we don't have to have this talk, but you're watching Game of Thrones with me for 8 seasons. That's basically sex education for any 15 or 16-year-old.
And it starts with a scene where you have sex with your sister, right?
Oh, that's right.
Not the greatest education.
Yeah, but if there's one message from Game of Thrones, if there's one moral, it's that family comes first. That's good. That's good.
One of your first relevant sex jokes. I love it.
What's your favorite HBO series?
I love Last of Us. I watched season 1. I thought it was great. I'm watching season 2, but I'm not a huge TV consumption guy, and that's part of the issue. I think why I was wrong about all of this is that the HBO brand doesn't resonate for me in the way it does for you, because I'm less of a TV guy, which is why I shouldn't really be weighing in on what HBO might actually be doing in terms of branding, because I'm not really the target consumer. But what is striking to me is it just sort of reverses all of the intention behind the merger in the first place, where the idea was we're going to merge with Discovery, take all of the Discovery product offering and all the Discovery IP, and we're going to kind of try to blend it together. And the way we'll do that is by calling it all Max. And this is basically them admitting, wait, all the shows on Discovery suck. They're kind of cheap, shitty shows. Meanwhile, we have all the shows on HBO, which are beloved and high quality and are sort of the luxury brand of streaming media. We shouldn't really be meshing or merging these two together. So let's sort of walk things back and go back to the HBO Max brand. And the fact that the architects of Max, the fact they're giving up on the name, I think it shows that you were right, and that the importance here is that you maintain the brand positioning that you built up for years in HBO. Let's move on to Airbnb, yeah?
Yeah.
So Airbnb is getting into services and experiences. This is sort of a complete revamp of the app. It was a place where you book vacation rentals. Now it's much more. You can book chefs and tour guides and
You know, it's funny. I watched one of these videos, like, sorry, this is so random. I watched one of these, like, Prof G videos for my marketing class in school last semester. 2 semesters ago, which was the last semester that I did. And I literally hated it. Like, I hated it so much. I was like, these guys are fucking retarded. And then I get into politics and I get into Scott Galloway from like fucking Jessica Tarlov, and I was like, wait, based, hey. So I don't know. I'm biased. I only started liking his economic takes because of his politics. I think he just comes across it's just him and the English guy that just comes across super pretentious sometimes.
Personal trainers, basically anything that you'd be offered at a nice hotel, you can now get on Airbnb. Brian Chesky, the CEO, is calling it Airbnb for everything. People are calling it Airbnb's attempt to become the everything app. The stock rose almost 3%. You give us the analysis here. What do you think of this move?
I would imagine they have figured out that there's a target market of pretty wealthy consumers with a lot of disposable income, specifically corporate travelers who like the amenities of hotels, and so they're starting to add them. I think it's a great idea, but it's high margin revenue. I talk to Brian on a semi-regular basis and brainstorm. This was not my idea. The idea I had for Brian is if you're in Munich and you're 29 and you're working for Salesforce and you're on the London sales team and you're in Munich meeting with, I don't know, BMW or whoever, you can turn on a switch that says you're visible. And there's groups or coordinators, almost like a Reddit page manager, that says we're all meeting at the Hofbrauhaus tonight and everyone's welcome. Because what I found when I was your age, Ed, and you don't do as much business travel as I did, when I was your age, it was literally molesting the earth trying to sell brand strategy services. I would find myself.
Kara Swisher. I think she is a lesbian. Is she not? If Kara Swisher is not a lesbian, my gaydar is fucked. Like, I'm pretty sure she's a lesbian.
In an amazing city, staying at an amazing hotel with a little bit of money, and I had nothing to do. And I could walk around the city on my own, but I would have loved to have gotten together with a like-minded group of people. And Airbnb, I think it's a really nice community. The people, my sense of people who engage in Airbnb are professionals or culturally interesting people in their 20s and 30s. That's my sense of the populace. I don't know if that's true.
That's right.
But to give them another reason, or to create an added feature where when I travel with Airbnb, I get stitched into this really cool community of people where I can make friends, find professional contacts. I mean, that's what you should be doing. Create a community.
My question, that sounds nice, and I agree it would be nice for society. How does it make money?
I think it's just another feature. I don't think it's a money-making thing. I think what you could do is turn it into Airbnb Plus, and it creates the ability to go visible. And you charge. I mean, if you want, I didn't see this as a moneymaker. I saw it as another feature that creates a more sticky brand where people go, I always go. What it does also is it takes advantage of their scale.
I always wondered how people made money on Airbnb. How the people of Airbnb made money, because I know that people make money on Airbnb. Like, how are the actual Airbnbers making money?
Because I bet at any given time, there's 400, 700, 1,100 people staying in Berlin that night at an Airbnb, and no one else can do that. Anyways, that was my idea, but he didn't do it. That's why he's a billionaire, and I'm here stuck with you celebrating our 1-year anniversary.
You want friends, I want money. So I'm thinking about how does this company make money? They've kind of maxed out on growth at the moment. Like they created this category sort of, which is vacation rentals. They conquered that category. They executed practically to perfection, but the growth of that business is slowing. And if they want to be a 100, 200, $300 billion company, which I think is what he wants, then they need to go after new businesses. And so their answer to that question here is we're just going to go after all services. You were saying it feels more like a sort of, they're trying to become a hotel. The vibe I was getting, and by the way, I actually prefer that as a strategy. The vibe I'm getting from Brian Chesky and from the announcement is he wants it to be just Airbnb for everything. It's almost like Craigslist meets Uber. If you have any sort of service that you can provide, you just sort of rent out your service on Airbnb. I think it's almost too ambitious. Like they're kind of, instead of going after one additional category, they're going after like 15 to 20 at the same time. But at the same time, it's like, I respect the ambition. And it shows me that they want to be bigger than they actually are right now. It shows me that they're thinking big picture. And I think the market sees it that way too. And that's why you saw the increase in the stock. I don't think it will work, but I don't really have a problem with that because they're trying things out. And if it doesn't work, they can just...
He does look like the duck girl from Chicken Little. All right. Okay. Clocking out for the night. Thank you guys for tuning in. It's currently 3:22 a.m. where I am right now. Thank you guys all for tuning in for a late night stream. I think tomorrow I'll probably be on What's my schedule tomorrow? Let me go through. What do I have to do tomorrow? I'm gonna wake up. Oh, tomorrow I'm off work. Oh, God bless. Tomorrow's gonna be a good day because I don't have fucking work. I just got a raise too, and it's not enough. And so I should be wanting to go to work right now because I get more money than I was getting before. But honestly, it was just more dejecting because I was like, this is it. This is all I'm getting. Whatever. Tomorrow I'll probably do a post-dinner stream. Like 8 Eastern. No, 7 Eastern. I'll eat dinner with you. I don't know. I'll do it a little earlier in the night, but still probably during the nighttime. We'll see you tomorrow. I am on that YouTube grind for the ad revenue. I'm trying to not have to work part-time when I go back to school. I'm trying to be able to get enough ad revenue where I don't have to work while I'm studying. That's the goal. All right. Help me get there. All right. Hope you guys have a great night. Thank you all. Love you. Bye. Mwah.